Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate you tuning us on in as this is my final show for this week. Rob G will be filling in tomorrow night and Friday as I'm off to the Nebraska Bigfoot Conference about 2 hours after showtime. Thank you all for tuning in. Brian Staveley is here. We're going to have some fun tonight talking about the Mandela Effect. Yes, I always love these shows with Brian. Yep. Residue will be the word of the night. I can never look at the word residue the same, thanks to Brian. All right, we have Tim Mothman in the gold medal position, Laura Lobbs with a silver, and Race Fan with a gold medal tonight, or bronze medal tonight. Julia Lua, welcome to SOR Chat. Hi, Barb Madison. And Boston Ray Mudflood, welcome to SOR Chat. Brown Dwarf, Andrew the Trucker, we'll see you maybe tomorrow night, maybe. Butthole Winker, welcome to SOR. I love your name, man. That's a great name. Welcome to SOR Chat. Mental Pancakes, how you doing? As we continue on with roll call. Human Carl is here, a great veteran of the United States Air Force. Thank you for your service, Human Carl. Dragonfly, Silent Listen is back. Silent Listen will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Rach Beal is here. Good to see you again. And Kim Ray, welcome to SOR Chat. Gannaball, welcome to SOR Chat. Tim Mothman, again. Mama Catherine. Mwah! Like 2.5 weeks, Mama Catherine. 2.5, 3 weeks. We're there. T-Bone, my man. Can't wait to see you again. Eternity Eternal, thank you for coming on in as we continue on with our roll call. Dogface Simon, Operation Shutdown. Number 17 in your program, starting at left wing from Stockholm, Sweden. Lars Janssen. Melvin, how you doing? Millennium, my man. The mullet looks great. Just Min from Burnaby. Just Min will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Let's continue on, shall we? Sue Finelli, welcome to SOR Chat. As we are right now going through roll call. Shifty Eye Shady, welcome to SOR Chat. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Deidre, how are you? I got that beautiful Sasquatch rock, my dear. It is beautiful. Thank you for the lovely card. I really do appreciate your love and support of this show. Thank you. Rachel, welcome to SOR Chat. And Tommy Tell the Truth, welcome to SOR Chat as well. Mennonite Abe, thanks for coming on in. Realize, welcome to SOR Chat. And TJ Trusty, welcome to SOR Chat. Richard Hauser, how you doing? New World Order, welcome to SOR Chat. And who else do we have here? We have Aloha Dave, Phineas on Twitter, Algaray on Twitch, bench pressing 375 pounds 21 times in 30 seconds. Guy's massive. Phil the Stalker, Monica, Deer Slayer, Darren Hooley, welcome to SOR Chat. And who else do we have here in our roll call tonight? Two Heads, thank you for coming on in. Hi, Paula Foss, JMJ12. Good to see you both. W. David Page, thank you for joining us. Hi, Digger Dog. And who else is next here? Let's say hello to Matthew Gutka. Call 40, welcome to Spaced Out Radio. And Lee the Bee, thank you for joining us. Hi, Nina Williams and Troy SR71. Good to have you guys here. Let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Brian Staveley from Dose of Reality Podcast is here to talk about the Mandela Effect. We're going to have some fun. We are in roll call, waiting for Bill WD-40, JSCO Space Cadet. Thank you for coming on in. And Jennifer, good to see you. Jared Jaguar, welcome to SOR Chat. Hi, Ozzy. David, a.k.a. Logan Freeman, welcome to SOR Chat as well. And me, Woykin. Push buttons, welcome to SOR Chat. As we continue on here, if you're new here, don't forget to hit subscribe, ring that bell. We are here 7 days a week for your listening entertainment. All right, continuing on here, and I'm scrolling on down. There's Bill WD-40 currently lubing us up for tonight's show, because you always want to go into a show nice and smooth, people. You never want that rigidness. That doesn't work. Thank you to T-Bone for kicking off the super chat tonight. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show. I will buy that beer. Thank you. You can also shop at our Spaced Out Radio store, High Speed Romans. We do not have ugly swag, people. Horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a great show of fun tonight. Brian Stabley from Dose of Reality Podcast is here to talk about the Mandela Effect. Then in hour number 3, Steve Stockton from Among the Missing with another creepy story. Nicole Sackage filling in for an extremely tired Courtney Marcassani on UFO Court. Brian Staveley has a successful YouTube channel called Dose of Reality. Right there, a lot of the time, he is focusing on strange stories, conspiracies like the Mandela Effect. And it is a controversial topic because we often wonder, has history changed? How about timelines? Is it us? Is it the timelines? Are we misremembering? This is what we're going to find out tonight. Brian Staveley, thank you so much for coming back on Spaced Out Radio, my friend. It's been a while, but my audience always loves it when you're here. How you been doing?
I'm doing good, and I forgot that while we stream, you have Simon doing drawings.
Yes. For our radio audience, our cartoonist. We actually have a cartoonist on our YouTube channel named Dirty Filth, and you can actually look up his books on Amazon, who draws cartoons of aliens and Bigfoot and all sorts of cryptid creatures during the show. So everybody that we bring on loves it when he comes on and draw the cartoon. He's just a master of what he does. Brian,
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. You know, right after this show, I got to get out of my house at about 2 o'clock in the morning. I got to drive 5.5 hours to Vancouver from where I am, hop on an airplane, fly to Dallas, Texas, have a 4+ hour layover in Dallas, and then catch an evening flight over to Nebraska for the Nebraska Bigfoot Conference this weekend. So I got a busy 72 hours coming up here. And
well, that'll be worth it, man. I'm sure it's going to be a great time.
Absolutely. What have you been up to?
Well, how long has it been since I've been on? If I'm not mistaken, this is our 4th show in about 4 years. We pretty much meet up about once a year, it seems.
About once every 9 months we do this.
Okay, yeah. So since the last time, a lot's changed, actually. Man, I decided I wanted to learn how to become a bartender, so I've been doing that. And then I actually, because I was doing that and it was an hour commute, I relocated my whole life. And yeah, just a lot of things are changing now. But and we can get into that too as we get into the Mandela Effect, because of course it's come up at work. So that's been cool.
Absolutely. And for everybody out there who doesn't understand what the Mandela Effect is, break it down for us on what it is, because there's always people listening, Brian, who may not understand what it's all about.
Sure. So what the Mandela Effect is when there is a change in this reality to a specific thing, and all official versions of that specific thing are changed retroactively all the way back to its origin point. Now, so obviously, if I'm coming out here and talking about the Mandela Effect, people know I'm not going to say it's false memory. I'm pretty sure they're going to guess that. But we can get into all the different ideas and why I don't think it is false memory, of course. But here's the thing. When you read about the Mandela Effect in an article or something online, granted, they very often do present like a list of legitimate Mandela effects, but they never get into explaining the deeper aspects of it and the other evidences that there is of it. So a lot of people think the Mandela Effect is just a memory game. Oh, people are misremembering something. They remember something different than the way it is, so they're calling it a Mandela Effect. It's not that at all. Some people, sure. There's probably some people that do that. So like, for instance, a very easy one, very common. When I say common, like, I mean, like, if I were to lock 100 people in a grocery store, 100 random adults, and ask them, hey, what did the Queen say in the mirror in the movie Snow White? What's the famous quote? Well, I'm going to tell you that, 99 or 100 out of 100 are going to say, mirror, mirror on the wall, just like what was going through everybody's head in chat right now. But I didn't quiz them because we're just trying to get flow in here, but we can do a little bit of that later. Mirror, mirror on the wall. That's 100%, 1,000,000%. I know that's what it always was. Now it's always been magic mirror. So the idea that nobody's even saying magic mirror, I mean, everybody you ask, just about, I won't say everybody ever, but damn near 100% of people are giving you the answer for something in which has never existed, and they're all doing it in unison with each other. Well, hello, Houston, we have a problem. Now, that is what a lot of people already know about the Mandela Effect. They know that people remember Mirror Mirror. They know that people remember the Monopoly Man having a monocle. What they don't know, and you mentioned it in the intro, is the physical evidence that we have, the word residue, the residual evidence. And that's very important, because if we were just misremembering, we wouldn't have all the physical evidence in this reality that says it was Mirror Mirror, like Walt Disney himself on video in, I believe it was the 1950s, quoting it as Mirror Mirror, like this Snow White book that I have right over here that I could pull out in a few minutes that quotes it as Mirror Mirror. And it's funny, too, because the excuses people will try and come up with to explain it away, oh, the Mandela Effect, it's just about a copyright issue. So, like, when we show them the older books and everything, oh, well, it used to be Mirror Mirror, and then Disney got it, and they changed it to Magic Mirror. Well, no, I have stuff right from Disney. We have it from Walt Disney's mouth. But the Mandela Effect is much bigger than movies and products and things like that. People's names have changed as they live their everyday lives. The land masses of the earth are in the wrong position. The Bibles are being supernaturally rewritten. And I mean, every map and globe in the world has changed. Every Bible, every translation has changes in it. Now, not only that, the experiences I have, I mean, I 100% know that's real. I'm sure of myself. Even if it was just the Volkswagen change, the Volkswagen logo used to be a V and a W merged in a circle. Now it's always had this huge gap in between the V and the W. I know what my car looked like. You're not going to gaslight me and tell me I didn't know what the emblem was. But now if you look at any old Volkswagen, doesn't matter how old, the V and the W aren't merged anymore. I'm not going to ignore that. But here's the other thing too, Dave. I ask people on this stuff all the time. Like, just like I could ask everybody in the chat right now, how's the Mr. Rogers theme song start? It's a beautiful day, and everybody fill in the blank. And I already know what everybody's going to answer. Well, he's never said that now. He's never said it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. But you remember it. Ed McMahon never delivered giant checks to people's doors now for Publishers Clearinghouse. Yet
That's
I
something
can.
against me.
Yeah. And I can approach people, and I have, and I record all this so I can show people these experiences. I do it so honestly. I don't plant ideas in their head. I don't give them side-by-side comparisons of things. I don't give them multiple choice. I say things like, hey, when I say Ed McMahon to you, what image comes to your mind? And people be like, him going to doors with giant checks and balloons, Publishers Clearinghouse. Well, he's never done that now. That's gigantic to me. The fact that reality is being rewritten in real time, like and retroactively at the same time.
Tell people how the Mandela Effect got its name.
So they named the Mandela Effect based off of, allegedly, I don't know if the story's true, but allegedly this woman, Fiona Broom, was at some sort of party or function, and some news came on the screen about Nelson Mandela, and the people that were all at the party had remembered him already dying 15, 20 years before that or whatever, in the 80s. So maybe even 30 years before, they remembered him dying in prison. For me, I don't know about that either way. And I find this whole Fiona Broom character highly suspicious. I mean, nobody in the Mandela Effect community has even had conversations with this woman. So I don't really, I think that's just somebody an identity that they propped up there to stamp a name on this. The Mandela Effect has nothing to do with, that time frame. Like, a lot of people think there's a jumping off point, but I've spoken to people that have seen changes going back many, many decades. But I can't even fathom that this would be false memory, because people remember things that never existed in unison down the line on so many. Here's a good one, right? So what I've been up to lately, right? Because I know you always ask me, a lot of people do, hey, what are the newest changes? I'm really not the one to ask for the newest changes, because I don't talk about changes unless they're huge to me, unless I'm sure. Sure, people bring things up to me, but I'm not calling something the Mandela Effect unless I'm 100% sure, right? But here's some interesting things that I've been doing lately. So, have you ever heard of the spice called turmeric?
Yes.
Okay. Well, turmeric is a Mandela Effect, and it's never existed now. So turmeric, and this is an old change, but follow me here. Turmeric has now always been turmeric. There's an extra R in there now. There's 2 R's in there. Okay. Now, right now, you can go to, I've got videos recently on 7 or 8 different grocery stores around here. Food Lion, people have been sending me videos, Food Max, Stop and Shop, all these different places. And so again, what happens with the Mandela Effect? So the Mandela Effect, let's talk about the residue again. The Mandela Effect is going to make a change. So turmeric has always been turmeric now with 2 R's. So that means every bottle of turmeric is going to say turmeric coming from all these factories and stuff, and that's on the shelves, right? That's what all the labels are going to say, even if you have it in your cabinet. But here's the thing. The POS systems in all of these different grocery stores, their computer systems, not all of them have updated. So underneath the product, you'll have where the barcode is, and you'll have it printed out, turmeric, the old way, without the 2 R's. And I've done multiple videos doing this. And then on top of it, I have a buddy that's in Japan, Alt Scholar. I've done a few shows with him. He's in Japan. He teaches English there, so he's fluent in both languages. In Japanese, the change in that word, right? Because people say, oh, you always just missed the letter that was there and misspelled it and blah, blah, blah. It's changed 3 completely different characters at the beginning of the word in Japanese. So it's changing in all these languages. And in some languages, it stands out even more because of the way the languages are written. You can do the same thing with Hass avocados. I've been doing it for years. Excuse me. Hass avocados has now never existed, and it's always been Hass, Hass. So think about this. First of all, why would so many people, if we're misremembering, if it's always been Hass avocados, Hass, which rhymes with the word pass, how would we misconstrue that and pronounce this, put 2 A's in there and start saying Hass, Hass, Hass? But on top of that, you could go to Walmart or Kroger's to this day still, go in and buy a Hass avocado. You're still going to get printed a receipt for a Hass avocado, even though they say it's never existed in this reality. That's the type of evidence we have. I have receipts on reality.
That's just incredible. How do you find these? How do you know what's happening?
a lot of it is the community, and as far as finding the different residues, it's everybody's chipping in on it. And being the fact that I talk about it the most, people tend to send me like everything, and I don't show everything people send me because it's not all good. You have to use a lot of discernment with this, but some of these are such slam dunks. Again, so if you were to ask most people, where is describe to me, everybody in the chat, I want you to type what you always remembered it to be. So if you're already aware of a change, just what you always remembered it to be. Describe to me the location and size of Cuba compared to Florida. The location and size of Cuba as compared to Florida. Dave, I think we've done this before, so I'm pretty sure you're aware of this.
This one trips me out a little bit. I could honestly say.
And I'm going to bring up a screen share in a minute, so just give me a second. I'm going to bring up Google Earth. I want to show people something. So this is what made me realize how big the Mandela Effect was. So when I first heard about the Berenstain Bears always being the Berenstain, I knew right away something was up, but it didn't really grab me until I realized that the land masses of the Earth were in the wrong position. So I wanted everybody to think about that, but because when I zoom in and show that, it's going to show something else. I also want people to think about South America. And I know this sounds like dumb questions, but in relation to North America, where would you say South America is? I want everybody to type that in the chat. So this is what really blew my mind. So I'm going to take a screen share from you real quick. All right. Can you share that?
Sure, I can.
Oh, and I won't spend too much time on sharing screens because I know you are on the radio. Sorry about that.
Yeah. So just explain to our radio audience what's going on here.
Yeah, so radio audience, actually, as you're listening along, if you'd like to, please pull out a globe in your house, bring up Google Earth, pull out any map. And if you said you remember Cuba being a small island to the southeast of Florida, as I do, or you remember North America, South America being underneath North America, guess what? Well, you'd be wrong according to this reality. Look at Cuba now. And again, we'll go through this quick. Cuba is now huge. It's the same size as Florida pretty much, and it's drifted way west of it. It's blocking the Gulf of Mexico, and South America is about 1,500 miles off to the right from where it was, way over to the east, which forces the Panama Canal to now be more north and south than east and west. That is mind-blowing to me. So I'm going to come off the screen share. We're just going to discuss what that means real quick, because I understand that we're given a lot of false information. No, I don't trust Google Earth. No, I don't trust maps that we're given. No, I don't trust nearly anything. But here's the thing. If you remember what I do, in Cuba being that small island to the southeast of Florida, or South America being almost right underneath North America and the Panama Canal east and west, if the Mandela Effect is just a psyop, and all they're doing is changing things, changing maps, changing movies, online things, stuff, rewriting history. You can go and pull out the globe out of your basement, the maps out of your old encyclopedias, and you'll be able to show me that Cuba is indeed, as you remembered, a small island to the southeast of Florida. But you won't be able to do that because they've all been Mandela affected and they've all changed all the way back throughout time to correlate with the new reality. That's what the Mandela Effect is.
We got 5.5 minutes to go before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour, talking Mandela Effect with Brian Staveley from Dose of Reality tonight on YouTube and Rumble. Brian, you've mentioned a couple of times a change into the reality. For our audience members who may not understand what that means, what do you mean by change to reality?
You mean, I'm saying in reality, so now, no matter how far you go back, Cuba has always been this big thing, west and east of Florida, and it's never been that small island. So what I'm saying was all the maps and the globes and everything changed to match that. All the official maps and globes change to match that. So you won't find one. If you have a globe that's 100 years old in your house, Cuba's going to look just like I did show you right there on Google Earth. Everything's going to correlate to that. And I'm not saying I believe, anything that they've given us, but that it all matches now. It all matches this reality, the current state of reality. Because what is happening here? You brought up timelines, and I don't think it's timelines. I know, but I'm open to the idea. I love the fact of anybody being able to talk about this, because most people are afraid to talk about it. They'll do anything to deny it, which is weird to me because check it out like this, right? They're not on the outside looking in, Dave. So it's not like, here's another example I like to give. Let's just say me, you, and everybody, you got 160 people in the YouTube chat, everybody listening on the radio. Let's just say we all got on a bus and we went to some like haunted castle or something, right? And we had this really huge paranormal experience and we came back and we told people about it, right? It'd be up to the people to accept our testimony on it or not, right? Whether they want to believe us or not. They weren't there. But with the Mandela effect, people remember damn near everything the same that we do. They're all experiencing it because it's real. And the changes are happening here in this reality, in my opinion. We didn't wake up in a new reality or a new timeline because if we did, why do we have all this evidence that it happened here? You know what I'm saying? Why are all the grocery stores here still have products in their computers that never existed? Why do we have here 800 years of physical evidence backing up some of these Bible changes? For those that don't know, in the book of Isaiah 11:6, what animal lies with the lamb? Type what you always remember it to be. This is huge. What animal lies with the lamb in the book of Isaiah? And by the way, I approach people on the street, including pastors and preachers waving their Bible, people that would be, experts in their field, or at least, should be somewhat knowledgeable in their field. And I'm able to go up to them and just completely, on every single change, get them down the line to answer in which the way it used to be by only getting them to fill in blanks. So if anybody remembers it being the lion and the lamb, you're all wrong. According to current reality, it's always been the wolf now. Quite a different message. What does the wolf represent? That's not the same thing. You didn't misconstrue that. People for hundreds of years haven't misremembered it. It's changed. I can show you 800 years of residue on that, including statues of lion and lamb together, but also specifically engraved with chapter and verse, Isaiah 11:6, the lion shall lay with the lamb. Now it's the wolf will dwell with the lamb. And there's tons of these types of changes. And that change, for people that say, well, so many different translations of the Bible. So show me yours that says lion. You can't. I'll give you cash. You can't do it. Open it up. It's going to say wolf. I don't care what version you have right now. That's a big deal to me. And I'm not even a Bible guy at all. But there's so much evidence. I never even read the Bible. And I talk about these changes because there's so much evidence. Like another one real quick. In the book of Matthew, very famous one. Matthew 18:20, fill in the blank, where two or blank gather. There I am, or there I will be, in different versions. Two or blank gather. Everybody, type what you always remember it to be. This is like I could get 99 out of 100 people on these. How is that possible if this is a psyop and people are misremembering? We shouldn't doubt our senses, and we shouldn't take it for granted like we know what this place is. We have no idea what this place is. No idea what this reality is capable of. So if you answered with two or more are gathered, you're all wrong. Now it's always been with two or three are gathered in every version of the Bible. Now, when I say you're wrong, I'm not trying to be abrasive, and I'm not calling you an idiot. I know that you are right in the way reality was, and I agree with you. And by the way, here's hundreds of years of physical evidence that the media doesn't talk about, the articles don't talk about, the Mandela Effect deniers don't talk about, that backs up and corroborates your memories. You should trust yourself over reality, Dave.
Well, there's so much to still get into because how did this happen? When did this start happening? I mean, there's so many questions, Brian. As we're about 30 seconds away from going to a break here. But, I mean, you have in that first 25 minutes of this show made everybody think. And now for people who maybe never heard of the Mandela Effect again, they're probably at home scratching their head saying, this guy is off his rocker or this guy is saying it like it is, because I remember the Bible quotes. I remember where Cuba was. I remember products that have had their names changed. And we're going to get into a lot more with that. Brian Staveley is here. The Mandela Effect is the topic as we are going to cruise through into the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio right after this. Stay tuned, everybody. We're going to get more into the Mandela Effect. Where did it come from? And where do we go from here? Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. All right, we are clear. Hi to all of Brian's listeners who are listening in on us tonight. We very much appreciate you tuning us in. If this is your first time here listening to Spaced Out Radio, we are a little bit different. We are a hybrid between a live radio show, which is why we're on break right now, and we are also a live podcast and YouTube and Twitch channel. So we have to kind of combine the three, and we take about 5-minute break at the bottom of the hour where you get to hear all the background noise. The only people who don't get to hear us right now are our radio audience who are waiting for their commercials to be over before we come back. So thank you for tuning us in, and thank you for being a part of tonight's show. And we hope by the end of the night that we've earned your trust to hit that subscribe button and ring that bell as well. Jeffrey, how you doing? Welcome to SOR Chat. And if you notice, I am saying a lot of hellos to all the new people. I always like to welcome people into our chat room. So have a good time and enjoy. We got a great bunch of new people in here, along with our regulars who are here on a nightly basis. So we really appreciate you coming on in and giving us a shot. And blackberry wine tonight, Simply Cocoa. Oh, that sounds smooth. I bet you it tastes really good. David, can you remember last Thursday? Yeah, a little bit. Not much. A little bit. All right. T-Bone, my man. Thank you.
The super exclusive backstage 2-minute conversation.
Yes. W. Decker, you're beautiful, man. I meant to say that earlier, but you are beautiful in every single way. Deborah Norsworthy, nice to see you back. Mm-hmm. Dirty Filth, you're looking beautiful as well. Let's get an update here. We should be in the third period. 4-4 with 10 minutes to go, Filthy. 4-4.
Like 44 goals, good guys, 0 goals, other guys, or
I wish.
unbelievable.
LA went up 4-3, and then Edmonton turned up the ice, and the rookie, Dylan Holloway, puts it top shelf where grandma keeps the peanut butter to make it a 4-4 hockey game with 10 minutes to go in the third here at game 2.
I was going to say he put that right upstairs where Norman keeps his mother, but that's also a good one.
Yeah, that works.
Grandma keeps the peanut butter. I never heard that one.
Yeah. That one just rolled off the tongue there. If you have questions for Brian, we normally ask questions in hour number 2, and I ask a favor because my eyes really don't or I have trouble reading the small print. So if you could put your questions in capital letters, I'd appreciate it. Mentira, how are you? Hi, Destiny Rocks. Good to have you back. And who else is here?
Dave.
I am a grandpa. That's right.
Oh, yeah. Whoops. Grandpa Dave.
Mm-hmm. I am picking Edmonton, and I don't want them to be there, but I think it's going to be Carolina or Florida coming out of the East. Edmonton wins in 7 games. And I called it, and I hate to say this, but I called it the Canucks lose in round 1 to Nashville.
Just losing followers left and right now. They're like, nope.
No.
Vancouver fans left, Dave.
I will tell you why. And Vancouver fans hate me for telling the truth. The Canucks are too European. Hi, Sandy B. They are too European to win the Stanley Cup. And it's unfortunate, but the majority of European hockey players, if you look over time, always disappear in the playoffs. They go lights out during the regular season, and then they disappear in the playoffs. Not all of them. Not all of them. Somebody like Ovechkin is amazing. Malkin's amazing. Okay. I covered the Canucks when Marcus Naslund was the captain. Naslund was amazing.
He was a beauty of a player, not even like Vancouver, Dave.
He was a beauty. Absolute beauty. But Ginger Turtle, how are you? Canucks lose at round 1 to Nashville. That's my call. Game 6 or 7. T-Bone ×2, W. Decker and Melvin. Thank you for the wonderful super chats. Tikkanen was amazing. So was Yari Curry. Yarmir Yager. I can name them all.
Love Jagger.
Igor Larionov. How about that one? Beauty. Here we got here we go. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. We very much appreciate earning your listening ears. I want to say hello to everyone tuning us in and wearing your tinfoil with us, because it always makes it more fun when you're dressed up in tinfoil like I am. And if you have missed portions of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives by going to any major podcast network or on youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. From Dose of Reality Podcast, Brian Staveley is here, and we are talking about the Mandela Effect. If you don't know what it is, this is where things have changed in life very subtly. Most of us don't notice, but all of a sudden when we take a strong look at what's going on, things aren't what they seem. Brian, welcome back.
Thank you.
All right. You broke down how the Mandela Effect was named last half hour. And this half hour, I want to start off by asking you about, how did this happen? How did all of a sudden everything change? I have heard stories that it's because of CERN. I've heard stories that it changed back in 2012 when the Mayan calendar was supposed to be the end of the world, but it wasn't, as we all predicted. And how did this begin?
So, when you ask me how, I'm just going to preface it by saying, obviously, this is speculation by me. So I really don't know. Of course, I have my thoughts, and there's certain things I rule out for certain reasons, and I'd like to get into that a little bit. I think the Mandela Effect, of course, I think it's just a crappy term that's given to what I think didn't have really a jumping off point, Dave. I don't think it was 2012. I don't think it was CERN. I think it's always been happening. I literally think it's partly a function of this reality. But also whatever created this reality is trying to communicate with us. So put your favorite theory there. Do you think we're in a God's creation? You think we're in a simulation? You guys know the different ideas that people have on this reality. But for me, like, I certainly don't think it had one of those dates where it jumped off, because people have been experiencing changes long before that type of thing. Also, as far as different timelines, time travel, we came from one part of the galaxy to another. We came from one timeline to another, multiverses. Well, surely I can't say to you confidently I would know how those concepts all work 100%, right? I would have a very vague understanding of them from movies we've seen and things like this, right? But for me, none of those work, because we talk about the residue, right? So if we came from another timeline or another universe, right? Or if somebody traveled back in time, tinkered with some things, and that's why we see these Mandela effects, why would there be residue? Why would all the physical evidence even exist at all? Why would it be here? It would either be in the other timeline, or if it was a time travel cost thing, we would have branched off into this new timeline when things are different. There would be no residue of those other things, in my opinion. The other thing, too, is if it's because we came from one place to another, we'll start with the beginner part of it. If we came from one place to another and things were different, and that's why we think it's the Mandela effect, well, we would have brought every single person on Earth with us, because every single person on Earth is Mandela affected. Everybody I've ever encountered has the same recollection on so many of these changes right down the line. Also, on top of that, The Mandela effect's a little deeper than people are ever led to believe, of course. And we have incremental changes, things that change slowly in front of us while we're looking at them, like the lion and the lamb changing to the wolf didn't change in every version of the Bible all at once. It changed incrementally, and we observed that happen. We've also observed things change and change back. So my take is we're in one reality that's fluid, for lack of a better term. I call it a fluid reality. This reality is what's changing, and our memories are remaining. Our consciousness is remaining the way it was, unchanged by this. I think whatever created this reality is what it is. So I don't know if it's, you want to call it God or like a life force or whatever you think created this earth with all these resources and everything for us. I certainly don't think it was accidental. I think it's, I don't believe in religions and things like that. I'll just call it a creator. Whatever the creator is that made this place, I think is causing the Mandela effect. Now, why? I know that it's very popular. People say it's CERN and D-Wave computers, and we'll talk about that too. I see an obvious disinformation campaign by the people that run the psyops in this realm to push you in that direction. The first thing they want you to say is the Mandela effect is false memory. Nothing's happened and nothing to see here. Okay. But then if you're like, no, I know something's going on. I know Mr. Rogers saying it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. I know Ed McMahon delivered those big checks. I know what South America was, right? I know the engines weren't hanging off the wings of commercial airliners like they are now in this reality going all the way back. Well, it's CERN doing it. It's D-Wave computers. You're in our simulation because it puts them higher than creation, basically. Like, and he wants you to give them the credit and the power for it. And I think it's all hocus pocus, bro. I really do. I have no reason to believe in any of that. But I will say, again, this is just my theory and what I believe. Like, I know that these changes are happening, but as far as what's causing it, it's what I believe. And I, even though I might really not like some of those other theories, anybody that's willing to talk about this topic seriously, that's fantastic, man. I know a lot of people love the simulation theory, and I do understand that a lot of things we see with the Mandela effect would work within that, but I just see too much of them pushing us in that direction. So I have a hard time believing that.
Do you think it's a government conspiracy, much like aliens?
What do I think? What's a government conspiracy?
The Mandela effect, that it's being covered up?
Oh, 100%. But by government conspiracy, I mean, I think the Mandela effect is a supernatural occurrence from the creator of this realm. But I think the cover up is the disinformation campaign to make you think that it's false memory. That's the cover up, and to get you to doubt your senses. There's tons of this. Like, for instance, here's one that a lot of people would know. Spell the shoe Skechers in chat. Everybody spells Skechers the way you remember Skechers being spelled. All right, we'll talk about that one for a minute. I mean, these are old changes too. I mean, these are old. But right now, okay, Skechers now no longer has a T in it. It's never had a T. And you got Mr. T now coming out doing commercials for Skechers going, you think there's a T in Skechers, fool? I'm the only T in Skechers. And blah, 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 blah. And they're just mocking us all the time. If you go to Fruit of the Loom, now Fruit of the Loom has never had a cornucopia in their logo. I don't even need to ask people. I already know if I asked you what the Fruit of the Loom logo looks like, you're going to say fruit with a cornucopia. Everybody remembers it. Well, they've never had a cornucopia now. Yet they troll us on their TikTok page with talking cornucopias going, I wish I could have made it into the logo and blah, blah, blah. It's ridiculous, man. The Mandela Effect movie, the motion picture that came out was a complete joke. I literally yet to see a good article. And articles come out every day. They literally, even if people want to disagree on the Mandela Effect and think it's a psyop, whatever, if you watch any of my content and all, you at least know the concept of residue. Like we talk about physical evidence that we have, even if you disagree what it means, none of these things even present that idea. They just leave it out there for you to think that it's just people's memories. How do millions of people around the world remember the word dilemma with a silent N in it when now it's never had a silent N in it? Well, where did we all come up with that? How do millions of people remember the Gettysburg Address 77 years ago, our forefathers, when it's never said forefathers now, and it just says fathers? How do millions of people around the world remember the golden rule from the Bible as do unto others as you would have them do unto you? Go look it up now, because that's not what it says. It's never said do unto. We're not when our sense is not failing here. Something else is failing. Reality's failing, or it's meant to do this.
Why would it be meant to do it? Just out of your theory.
Because we live in a world full of deceptions and lies, and mostly what's presented from the media and all that is where the deceptions come from, media and government and stuff. And we're not going to go too far down that, but I think that we're being shown that there's much more than all that and the materialism. And I think this place is like a training ground for where we're going next. And I think the Mandela Effect is a huge part of that spiritual awakening. If you can't come to terms with this, it's going to be very hard for the next step, I think.
I want to ask you, because in the last half hour, you mentioned something that really intrigues me, and that's time travel.
Yeah.
Why do you think time travel is involved with the Mandela Effect?
So let's say, okay, for instance, Ed McMahon, right? It's a big one for you. We talked about it earlier, right? You remember him working for Publishers Clearinghouse and delivering the giant checks, right?
Yes.
So now in the new reality, he worked for a different company called American Family Publishing, and he never delivered giant checks to people's doors. Okay. So he didn't even do that whole action that we remember. Similar type company, but that whole thing of him going to people never existed in reality. So let's just say time travel happened, right? Say you went back in time, right? And you went to Ed McMahon back in the day and somehow influenced his decision on what company he was going to work for, right? And now he's always worked with American Family Publishing. Here we go on the new timeline that you branched off because you did this time travel thing, right? So, but on this timeline that we're on, everybody remembers him working for Publishers Clearinghouse. So why is that? That shouldn't be the case. That should be left over here on the old timeline before you branched off with the time travel. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yes.
And if you, it was time, and again, and the evidence, everybody's memories, you know, it's all here, man. It's all still here. It's just the official things that have changed. Like in Star Wars, I mean, C-3PO was always all gold. Now he's got a silver leg. In the original trilogy, in all 3 movies, the dude was always all gold. That changed on my own movies. I checked that. I checked my Back to the Future movies. I checked a lot of physical things that I had in my own home that I'm sure have changed.
The movie Shazam, that never happened.
That's an interesting one because that's something now didn't just change form, right? It just never existed now.
Yeah. So if people don't know that one, that is where the old 80s comedian Sinbad, who always wore those MC Hammer pants, horrible outfits. He had a comedy show on TV, and he allegedly made a movie called Shazam. And now nobody can find the movie. And I remember my friends and I talking about that movie back in high school, saying his television show was so bad. He's like, you know, Whoopi Goldberg, not funny, or Pauly Shore, not funny. And here we are, you know, talking about how we're not going to waste the money to go see this movie. And now the movie never happened.
No. And, you know, we have a lot of people have a lot of anchor memories to it, including matching ones where so many of us remember that when the Shaquille O'Neal Genie movie came out 2 years later, that we thought, wow, what a ripoff. I mean, Sinbad just did a Genie movie. Well, now he's never done a Genie movie. The question is, even bigger than that, does he remember or doesn't he? Because he acts really triggered when confronted about it. It's a really valid question. Is he in on it? Has his consciousness just been rewritten? His memory? Because let's think about it. There's these people whose names have changed, right? So the famous pastor in New Orleans, type the name in the chat if you know him. Mega church, New Orleans, famous during Hurricane Katrina, famous now still. Wouldn't let people in his church during the flood. Everybody type his name in the chat. So that's a huge Mandela effect for me. Joel Osteen was his name. His name's now Joel Osteen. It's never had an L in it. Jimmy Savile is a recent one since the last time we talked that you probably aren't aware of. Jimmy Savile has lost an L in his last name. So now it looks like Jimmy Savile. If you look him up, you'll get spell checked if you try and put 2 L's in it. Ed O'Neill, Al Bundy, he gained an L. He's now got 2 L's at the end of his last name. So my point is, the guy with the Haas avocados, his name's Haas now. The whole family, the whole lineage has changed. I think that they, for the most part, don't know. But I do think there's a couple exceptions.
I want to throw this by you, and I've been doing some thinking here while you're speaking. What happened if, or maybe this happened, I don't know. Would we know? But I'm just throwing this out there as a hypothetical. What if, like 2012, when the Mayan calendar actually was the end of the world, and we all shifted into a different dimension?
Yeah. That could have happened too. So when I say it's not time travel or it's not the 2012, that could have happened too. But where we are now, it's a fluid reality. Now, as far as the 2012 thing, again, I'll reiterate. I personally had a Mandela effect myself a decade before 2012. I didn't know what it was at the time, but I later on, once I realized what this was, I looked back on it, and then I was like, "Holy crap!" And then I was able to easily research it. I've talked to people that have seen some of the more common changes, like the Ford logo and things like that, as far back as the 70s.
I have a Ford logo in my or key in my hand right now, and I'm trying to get it to show up on camera. But this is a key, and the Ford logo, if you look at the F on the middle bar of the F, it has a little curly Q on it, like Dairy Queen. This key that I have in my hand does not have the curly Q. And you can look at the key if you're watching on YouTube. It's an old school key. It's nothing new. Okay, this is an older vehicle key. And I brought this up to a buddy of mine who actually owns a Ford dealership. And I said, "What do you think about the curly Q?" He goes, "I don't know. It's always been there." I said, "What if I were to tell you it hasn't?" And then I showed him the logo, the Mandela Effect, and I even showed him that key. And he's like, and this is a very Christian fellow. And he's like, "My goodness, that is so weird." He goes, "How do you explain that?" I said, "I don't know."
Can we call him on three-way now so I can talk to him about his Bible?
No, he's a good man. He's a good man.
I didn't say he wasn't a good man. I just want to blow some minds, and that's a wall I come up against, and I understand, but because people, I'd like to talk about that actually. You bring up the Bible changing, and it's just instantly super triggering for a lot of people because they'll automatically go to, well, the Word of God can't change. So here's the thing, and I'm not trying to. Whatever you believe, whether you think God sat down with a fountain pen, or if you think men wrote it and manipulated it later, or if you think a dog wrote the Bible, or AI, or whatever you think wrote the Bible, I'm just talking about the facts of the situation. And the words that are written on there have changed. And in reality, it is ink on paper. And if the Berenstain Bears book can change, so can the Bibles. And they have all supernaturally changed. I could get anybody with at least a dozen changes, no matter how well versed they say they are in the Bible. I do it all the time. It's easy. I could even, my buddy John gave me this idea too. It's a great idea. I could even not only know that they're going to fill in the blank wrong, I could write down on a piece of paper what they're going to say, put it in my back pocket. And when they say it wrong, I say, "Look, yeah, I knew you were going to say that." Because that's what it was. It was the Lion and the Lamb. It was where two or more are gathered in my name. The Lord's Prayer did have "forgive us our trespasses" in it, but now that's never been in there in any version of the Bible.
Hold on a second. The Lord's Prayer changed. What does it say now?
In most versions, now it says debts and debtors. Some have sins and sinners. There's a few others. None say, "Forgive us our trespasses and those who trespassed against us." Every version's changed. You can find it in some prayer books. People say, "Oh, that's where you got it from." No, it was in everybody's Bible. It's gone now from everybody's Bible. How about this one? A lot of people might not know. This is fantastic. Fantastic timing. Glad I thought about it. Passover, right? Who does the killing at Passover? Who flies over and does the killing at Passover?
No idea.
Well, it was the angel of death. And now it's God himself. God does it instead of the angel of death. Every version of the Bible, Exodus 12:12, Exodus 12:29. These are universal changes, not a translation issue. Done my homework.
One of the ones that you brought up the last time you were on, and I'll be honest with you, it still trips me out, is you brought up the sport of boxing.
Yeah.
And kidney punches.
Yep.
And how
kidney punch is illegal.
Yeah. explain how boxing and kidney punches is a Mandela effect.
Well, it's not even really because of boxing, but that why, if you would ask people why in boxing a kidney punch was illegal, well, they would tell you, well, because the kidney was exposed and you could do a lot of damage to it. And then you ask where it was. Well, I mean, and I know we're on the radio too, but for people on YouTube, I mean, I remember in the lower back right here, exposed. And now your kidneys are much higher and they're actually protected by the bones of the back of your rib cage. That's an anatomy change, one of many human anatomy changes, which is gigantic. So the land masses of the earth are in the wrong position. The Bibles are being supernaturally rewritten. The human anatomy's changed. Things have been inserted into history, which are some of my biggest Mandelas. We didn't get there yet tonight, but we'll get there. And people say, well, who cares if the Berenstein Bears change and the Monopoly Man lost the monocle? Well, it's all that too. They try and use the fact that we have all these other changes and use that against us. This whole reality is being rewritten, my man. And who can change the human anatomy and move the land masses of the earth other than God, in my opinion? A lot of people get scared of this. I don't think there's nothing to be scared of. People say it's Satan. And pretty much, so most religious people will shut down the Mandela Effect totally, but there are a lot of Christians that do talk about the Mandela Effect, but almost all of them that I know believe that it's Satan because they take such great offense to the Bible change as well. What if maybe you weren't supposed to idolize the Bible so much? And maybe it's the Creator pointing things out to you. Certainly warnings in there. The two or more are gathered. That changed to 2 or 3. We're not going to go down the road of what's been going on in recent events, but that changed just before the recent events of 2020, and they started clamping down on gatherings right after. So,
Brian, what about the body? What else on the body besides the kidneys have changed? We got about 2 minutes here.
Your heart used to be much more to the left. Now it's basically dead center behind your sternum. Your bones, your eyes used to be hollow in the back behind your eyes. Think of images of snakes and rock band covers going in and out. Now you could never do that because there's a plate of bone back here. There's a lot of other ones that people talk about that I'm just not sure enough to really bang on about. But I will tell you this, a personal anatomy thing that I and others have had is a scar that disappeared that I had my whole life. I think it was from smallpox test or something, or TB, and they put these little pins in you. I had this little grid of maybe 12 little dots. It was always itchy right here all the time, years and years and years, and always irritating me. And somebody in the community brought it up to me about a year ago that his had vanished. And I looked over, and mine's completely gone. And I've talked to a lot of other people, and their whole little raised scar there is just completely gone. And I wonder what that's all about.
That's the inoculation mark.
Yeah.
That was left with all of us as a kid.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if that disappeared for other reasons. We're going to not get into all that, but maybe as an identifying thing or whatever, a lot of people lately. So like I said, I'm working bartender now. So I'm meeting a lot of new people in a new area. Dude, people are getting very aware of this. So I spoke at the Anarchapulco conference in Mexico. I did it remotely, though, a few months ago. So I'm reaching out to a lot more people. I've been doing a lot of interviews like this. But the normies know about this. People come in my work. One girl came in my work. She was like, Brian, I got to talk to you. Had no idea I had a show or anything like that, right? Just knew I was a bartender at this place. I'm like, what's up? I saw this video, and I saw this video on TikTok. You were in there was some reel, and I'm like, I know that. It's Brian. And it was me talking about the turmeric thing, right? And then just a week ago, this girl sitting there at the bar, and she's like, I like your shirt. I actually had this shirt on. So I can wear whatever I want. Sometimes I wear my shirt for my show. I usually don't, but sometimes I do. She's like, oh, I like your shirt. I'm like, oh, cool. And she said it again. So then I'm like, well, it's from my podcast. Oh, what do you talk about? And I said, well, mostly now the Mandela Effect. Oh,
Hold that thought. Hold that thought. We're going to go to break here. Brian Stabley, the Mandela Effect, through hour 1, hour 2 of Spaced Out Radio coming up right after this. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right, let's turn things over to Dirty Filth with another great cartoon tonight. Thank you, Dirty, for coming on in. And don't forget to remind everybody where they can find your book and your website.
Yes.
Oh, Filth,
I've got it under control, Dave. Don't worry. Oh, hold on. Yeah.
you got your microphone on early.
I was anticipating it.
Wow, you were ready. Okay, I'll be right back.
Oh, okay. That's right. Yes. You can go to filthy.com, FYLTHY.com. My book's there, calendar's there, cartoons are there. And my normal usual suspects, usually just FYLTHY. Actually, I had a thing sitting here, but cats are absolutely out of control right now. So, anyways, here's the cartoon I did for tonight.
It's pretty awesome.
They're talking about the Kingman UFO crash, so apparently it's an actual thing. So I had to draw the man in black slugging some wobblies in the space bar with Sasquatch and talking about it because he's spilling the beans. Yeah, Doug Shelby, I think it was Robert Munch. I think he put little spiders in all his cartoons. They always hang off dressers and junk, and I always thought that was cool. So I figured I'd throw those in there any chance I get. What's up, Legends? Good job, Legends, whoever you are. Oh, yeah, I'm like 10 miles ahead or back. Terrible. Stink lines. There's no stink lines, Brown Dwarf, because no one's smelling right now. Brown Dwarf, you should give me a message here at some point in time. I gotta ramble to you about something. Just shine the old Brown Dwarf signal light in the sky, and I'll get in touch with you. Hi, Jessica S. and everybody else listening. Thanks for watching me draw cartoons. I had a good time. Oops, actually, I forgot something here. The plume on the helmet is very important. The knight needs a good plume. Exotic purpley color. And gold armor. He gets gold armor. If we're going to rip off Super Ghouls and Ghosts. Oops. Oh, yeah, pole shift. I don't know if the pole shift happens and then Canada becomes tropical. I don't know if I'll be able to handle that. Love V, the gold armor just shows the prestigious of it. It was made back in like 1993 or something like that, so it's all good. You can give him a pass. Baby rattler on the driveway alert. There's rattlesnakes in southern Alberta. Which is kind of terrifying. I've had a few garter snakes, but I live a little further than... Oh yeah, get your filthy needs there, Tim Mothman says. I've seen a couple garter snakes. They don't really count. It's not like we got ice alligators or something like that. That'd be just terrifying. No, I don't know, Paramarv. I don't think we could do Tabor. Oh, yeah, Tabor's rowdy. That's where all the corn comes from in Alberta. You know, these guys parking in the parking lots like Tabor corn. Meanwhile, 20 minutes later, you just see them come walking out of Safeway with a bag of corn. It's like, yeah. Classic Edmonton maneuver. Anyways, I'm ramming away here. David Hasselhoff. That's great.
Looking good as per usual, Dirty Filth.
Thanks, Dave. I was trying to read the chat, but it's just going like a million miles an hour. I have no idea how you do that.
Well, you start at the bottom. Never read
putting
up.
one pair of socks on at once, or
Exactly.
or whatever.
You're a pant leg. That's what you are.
I am most definitely not a California night crawler.
Yeah. Oh my. Man in Black is admitting to the Kingman crash. Wow. Bigfoot should have never gave him that fifth martini.
This is unprecedented.
You're breaking news right here. Here we go, everybody. Here comes the next hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. The Mandela Effect still has this show running with Brian Stabley, and we're in for a good one here. I want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. What do you got for us tonight, Clam? Quatuorate. I don't know. I'm not pronouncing that again, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Brian Staveley from the podcast Dose of Reality, which can be seen on YouTube and Rumble, is with us tonight, and we are talking about the Mandela Effect. Is it real? Is it imagination? Are we misremembering? Hard to say. According to Brian, though, we're not. Brian, welcome back.
Not hard to say at all for me. For me, it's very obvious. I know it was the Grinch who stole Christmas. No, that's never existed. I know it was if you build it, they will come in the field of dreams. Now that's never been said. I know that it was life is like a box of chocolates, which is an interesting one, right? Because now not only has life is like a box of chocolates been changed to my mama said life was like a box of chocolates. The residue on that one is substantial. Like I could show you that movie. Let's talk about what the Mandela Effect is again, right? So if there's a Mandela Effect in a movie, it's usually with the dialogue changing, right? So that's the audio track is Mandela affected, right? So what happens if you take that movie and you dub it over in another language? Well, you don't have the Mandela affected audio track anymore. You have somebody narrating it in another language, right? And with Forrest Gump and with Snow White, many of the dubbed over versions, you know, where they put the other language in those other languages, when you translate it to English, it's saying it the old way. Like, and if you watch the German Snow White translation from decades and decades and decades ago, like 50 years ago, right? It says Spiegeln, which is mirror, mirror. Even though we're supposedly misremembering and we don't have any evidence. We've got all the evidence, baby.
You mentioned that you get a lot of people, a lot of your followers who are looking for these Mandela effects. How often are they creeping up?
See, I don't like. See, there are some people that look for them. I think looking for them can be a little dicey because then some people might reach for things that aren't, you know. So I don't look for them. They kind of just come to me when they come. How often are they creeping up? People send me new stuff all the time, but there's Mandela effects in every genre of everything. You know what I mean? Like every type of movie, music, art, things that predate me. So there's a lot of stuff as of late that I haven't really got on board with so much. But I think that the changes are still continually happening. How often do they come up? I don't know. I mean, I would say daily, weekly. I'm not really sure. You know? So obviously when you first start looking into it, they're coming at you a lot faster because you didn't know what was going on, and now you're looking, right? And now I've been seeing these changes for like 9 years now and realizing what it is, but there's still new ones that come every few months or whatever. Excuse me. There's some other ones too from my childhood that I'm just like so 100% sure on. There's a lot to do with music. There's a lot of messages in the music ones, which I find interesting. Like the song from the Mamas and the Papas, California Dreamin'. I got down on my knees and I began to pray. It now says I got down on my knees and I pretend to pray. Yeah, I could show you nearly every cover that's been done by it, including other famous musicians singing it the way it used to be. I began to pray, but now it's always been I pretend to pray. The song Who Will Save Your Soul by Jewel. Listen to it now. She's now saying, who will save your souls, plural, throughout almost the entire song. The title hasn't changed, but the words within the song have, even if you own it. This isn't about Amazon Music changing it or anything like that. Nirvana, think about Kurt Cobain, his last performance on stage, people. Nirvana Unplugged, MTV, that last Unplugged performance. Think about the candles that were surrounding him on the stage. What color were the candles? Do you remember that performance, Dave?
I do not. I was never a Nirvana fan.
Now the candles were all white, and now they're all black. And there's a lot of things that have changed from white to black. Here's one. The TV show Dallas. You remember that show?
I do.
The white picket fence in front of the house is now all black and always has been.
That's strange.
Eli Whitney, the founder of the cotton gin, was black and now he's white. There's a whole lot of that going on. The song by the Rolling Stones, Painted Black, no longer says Painted Black anywhere in it. It used to say, I see a red door and I want to paint it black. Now it says, I see a red door and I want it painted black. Yet I've been able to show Mick Jagger live on stage singing it the way in which supposedly it never existed. We're just misremembering. Ed McMahon. One thing. Ed McMahon has a commercial shortly before he died for freecreditreport.com. He's driving around rapping, doing a rap song about how he needs back the giant checks he gave people. And he's in a white van like the Prize Patrol van. And he goes to people's doors, rings their doorbell and says, I need back the giant check I gave you. But he's never given checks in this reality, which is crazy. That's from the horse's mouth.
Let's go to some audience questions here. Let's start off with Kim here, who is asking, has it been happening more lately in smaller pockets?
What do they mean by in smaller pockets?
Probably, I'm going to assume in smaller areas where people are noticing smaller pockets of entertainment, smaller pockets of music.
Yeah, I'm sure. And there's lots of personal changes. And I've had a huge one. The neighborhood where I moved out of 4 years ago, completely Mandela affected to a different name. And always has been that new name now. And the interesting thing with that is the people living there haven't even still really taken the update. Most of them still think they live in a neighborhood called Centerville. It's never been Centerville now. It's always been Centralville. There's other local geography changes besides the big ones. So people in Massachusetts are noticing these things. Like my mother lives near Cape Cod, Massachusetts, and there's a town that's called Harwichport. Harwichport is now 2 words. It was always 1 word. Another one too is oh God, it'll come back to me in a second. But a lot of towns that are 1 word are splitting into 2, particularly words that end in the word port. It's very interesting. Was it Hyannisport? Yeah, it was Hyannisport, not Howard. Howard is Howard. Hyannisport. I had that wrong. Now it's Hyannisport, 2 words. I think Kennebunkport is 2 words now as well. I think I did a video on that one. How about this one? Here's a good one. Fillmore, California. Fillmore, California is another one like with the patent with the L. It used to be Fillmore, Filmore. Fillmore now has 2 L's in it, just like Ed O'Neill got an extra L. Belle Biv DeVoe used to be BEL, the band that sang the song Do Me and Poison. It's now BELL. So there's a whole bunch of L's moving around. Sybil Shepherd used to be Sybil with 1 L. She now has 2 L's in her name. Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker, he used to have 1 L in Hamill. He has 2 L's.
What do you think's with the 2 L thing?
I don't know, man. A lot of people say L means God and stuff like that, but I really don't know. I don't really get into too much of that. I really don't know what to make of all of it, but the L's is certainly a pattern. The S's are a pattern. There's also a pattern like Charles M. Schultz, the author of the Peanuts. He's now Charles M. Schultz. FAO Schwartz, toy store in New York that was featured in the movie Big. That's now FAO Schwartz. They both lost the T before the Z in a German name that's changed. Very interesting to me.
Brian, I'm a big sports fan.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to work in sports radio. I don't recall any type of sports Mandela effects. Have you figured any out?
Oh, yeah. The Tyson air bite with Holyfield is a Mandela effect. And I'll explain. So it still happened. He still bit his ear, right? But I remember, as many people do, in the footage of the fight, when that ear bite thing happened and Tyson spit out a piece of the ear, the camera panned down and filmed it on the mat for a second. It was this huge thing. That's never happened now. So that's one that's big for me. I actually have a WWE one that I'm going to present within the next couple of days. I know that's not technically sports. Another one, the Babe Ruth. The famous Babe Ruth, he calls his shot and he points his bat. He's never pointed his bat now. He waves his finger at the pitcher like this.
That one I found odd the other day. I actually saw that a couple of weeks ago. And I was like, hold on a second one.
Yeah. I actually got another one, right? So we have to be able to discuss things we're not sure of and say we're just speculating and we're not sure. If I can't discuss it on my channel or with you guys, like, where can we discuss it? But I really want to bring this one up. I'm bringing it up on my next show too. And I tried to ask people that talk about basketball a lot in the Mandela Effect community, and I couldn't get a clear answer out of the one dude I asked. And it was really weird. And I don't know if this is a Mandela Effect, so I could be wrong. I need to look at this more, but this might be a sports Mandela. I was watching some footage, right? Came across my thing. I don't follow sports like I used to. I used to really into it. Now I couldn't care less at all. But it showed one of these NBA guys, and he threw the ball up off the backboard, right? Underhand, around the defender. I think it might have been like an old, clip of like Penny Hardaway or somebody. Around the defender, alley-ooped it to himself after grabbing off the backboard and slammed it. Well, is that a Mandela affected rule change in basketball? Because for me, that was always a self-pass. You couldn't throw it off the backboard to yourself. It would have to hit the rim. And then you go back now, and there's all these guys doing these dunks that I never saw where they're self-passing it off the backboard in the middle of the game, not getting called for traveling, catching it and slamming it down. And I'm wondering if that's a Mandela effect. What do you think about that? What do you know about the self-pass rule in basketball? Would you think throwing it to yourself off the backboard without hitting rim is traveling, or no? I thought that was traveling. And I looked back at the rules, and it seems to be legit now.
I think because the ball touches the backboard, that's why.
Yeah, I thought it had to hit a piece of the rim. So I could be wrong about that. But as far, like I said, I don't know if that's a Mandela. I've been thinking about that, and that would be a new one if it was. But definitely the Babe Ruth is a change for me. The Tyson ear bite. Also, do you remember a guy named Jim Rome?
Yes.
Sports guy. Do you remember when he had the famous clip where Jim Everett went after him?
Yes.
On the stage?
Tell
me why. Why did that happen? Do you remember why that happened?
Yes, because Jim Rome kept on calling Jim Everett Chris.
Chris what? Why? Who's Chris?
Chris Everett.
Who?
The female tennis player. He kept on calling him Chris.
Who? What's her name?
The famous female tennis player, Chris Everett.
Look up her name now.
It's EV. It's always been EVERT.
So
That I
not,
do.
that's not Everett. Okay, so I always remember it as Everett, not Everett.
No, that one I can confirm.
Okay.
As a sports broadcaster, I could confirm that one because I used to misspell it.
I always knew it as Chris Everett, but maybe not. But yeah, as far as sports ones, I don't have too many. That's about all I have for that. And I don't follow it anymore. So if I did, there would probably be a lot. And I know there's a lot of changes. Like for people say, well, how are the new kids going to learn it and stuff? The younger people, they have changes in their video games, changes in their shows that they watch and stuff like that. Nearly all these different products I grew up with have changed. Mac, how about this one? This actual fruit has changed. I mean, bananas have always grown upside down now, and Macintosh apples have never existed. They've always been Macintosh. They've never been Macintosh. Did you know that?
No, that one
There's no such thing as a Macintosh apple. It's always been Macintosh now. There's no A after the M.
Let's get to another audience question here. Let's go over to Raza, who is asking, who is responsible for the Mandela effect? What motive do they have? And what are their methods?
I think it's the creator of the realm, the only person that could be able to retroactively move the land masses and the human anatomy back from the fabric of time. I think the motive is to wake us up to a deeper understanding of what reality is and what is happening after this. And back to the sports thing too, Dave. Are you familiar with the Heisman Trophy in America?
Yes.
Do you know what the pose looks like for the trophy?
Yes.
Describe it.
It's the hand out, football tucked in, and one leg out like he's running, and the other one standing, the other leg just on pace on the ground.
So I remember one leg up in the air, like the left leg up in the air, the left hand out to the side, and the football in the right hand. And now he has both feet are on the ground, and his hand is forward like this, like he's doing a stop sign. He's not even lifting a leg in the air. That's the official trophy. And guys, if you watch anybody doing the Heisman pose, of course, they've got the leg in the air, including people that did this Heisman House commercial for like Toyota, like last year, the year before. And they're all got their legs up in the air. You got a Barack Obama doing it. Everybody you could imagine in the college football season near the end of the season that thinks they're in the running for the award. They're doing the Heisman pose after a big play. And now the trophy has never had its leg in the air or its hand out to the side. I've shown O.J. Simpson doing it. I've shown people from the 50s, 60s, all with the leg in the air. Leg's never been in the air now. That's a pretty big sports, Mandela. Forgot about that. Thank you, whoever reminded me in chat.
All right, let's get to another question here.
Yeah, man, more questions. I want to answer them all the best I can. So, yeah.
Let's go to T-Bone. What Mandela effect has had the most freaking on you?
Well, we didn't talk about what I consider my number one yet. So I guess that we should address, and that's a huge historical insertion in this reality. And so we're not going to get into other conspiracies and things like that. But, you know, when I went to school, I was always told that Pearl Harbor was the first major attack on U.S. soil. And then when 9/11 happened, no matter what side you looked at it from, whether it was mainstream or alternative media, whatever, you'd always hear that same thing. And 9/11 was the second. Now in this reality, that's no longer the case. Now in this reality, there's this whole thing called Black Tom, where 2 German spies snuck in through New Jersey into the New York Harbor and blew up 1 million pounds of TNT. 1 million pounds in New York. Injured 120 people, killed 5, blew out all the windows in Lower Manhattan, and damaged the Statue of Liberty so bad that nobody's been to the torch. Now, not only is it ridiculous that, and they're also calling it the largest non-nuclear man-made explosion in the history of the world, okay? And this happened in New York, and not a single person I've ever asked, including history professors and all sorts of people, nobody has ever heard of this thing. And on top of that, even freakier than that, is I know people that have been in the torch of the Statue of Liberty, yet now that is an impossibility in this reality because it's been closed for over 100 years because it got hit with the shrapnel from the explosion. It was damaged. So that's a gigantic one for me. The geography ones are right up there with it, and as well as the Ed McMahon and Mr. Rogers and And there's just so many. The Volkswagen's huge to me. That logo is so wrong. It's so different. The Volkswagen has two Mandelas as well. There used to be two spellings of Volkswagen. There was Volkswagen, spelled wagon the normal way, which is like what you would get in America. And then there was wagon with an EN, which is what you would get in Germany. And I'm sure some other European countries. And I for sure knew this when I used to look in car catalogs to buy parts for my car and accessories and things, aftermarket stuff. You would have to know if you were getting the German or the American one. You would be able to easily differentiate by the spelling. Now there's only been one spelling worldwide, and it's the German one, which is interesting again because there's so many German Mandela effects.
Brian Staveley is here tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We're talking the Mandela Effect tonight. Brian, you have this uncanny ability to really put this all together in a very interesting puzzle piece, if you don't mind me saying.
Yeah.
What is the reaction from people when you talk to them about these? Do they think that you are kind of up in the air with a lot of this, or do they kind of look at you in shock and say, wow, I didn't even think of that?
I think it's more of, I didn't even think of that, because they all think it's a surface level Berenstain Bears type thing. And it's like, and again, even if it was just the Berenstain Bears book, supernaturally changing the Berenstain retroactively all throughout the fabric of time, that's a big deal. But they're not really grasping that. People are always misled. That's why, and I'll get back to a story I was going to tell earlier. That's why, like, when people say they know the Mandela Effect. So this girl sat down at the bar. She said, I like your shirt. I said, oh, it's my podcast. What do you know about the Mandela Effect? When I say that, what do you think? And she looked at me, because I want to see what they think. Oh, it's that false memory thing. I want to see where they're at, right? And she looked at me, and dude, to my surprise, over the last year or so, so many people kind of understand it a little more now. She looked at me and she said, listen, I had a friend that worked at the Smithsonian, so I know. And do you know what I mean? Why that is? Because her friend worked at the Smithsonian. And what's the Smithsonian? 2 words. What's the name of that museum?
I don't know. I'm way too Canadian for that.
The Smithsonian, it begins with an I. Okay, well, I'll tell you. It used to be the Smithsonian Institute, and it got Mandela affected, and now it's never been the Smithsonian Institute. It's always been the Smithsonian Institution. And because her friend worked there and she knew that it changed, she knew that the Mandela Effect's real. Another girl, just like a couple months before that, she actually started working there, and I was training her, and she was like, oh, well, what do you, because it always comes up, because I don't work. I was working a lot the last like 2 months, a lot of hours, but I was only working 3 days. I'm doing my podcast and stuff. So people like, I live in a nice area, so I know I'm doing something else. So like, what else do you do? Oh, well, I have a podcast. I talk about the Mandela Effect. And I was like, what do you think about that? When I say the Mandela Effect, she looked me dead in the face and she said, I know 100% Chick-fil-A never had a K. I said, you're right. It never did. But now it always has in this reality. It used to be CHIC. Why would millions of people around the world misspell the word chick, CHIC, all in unison, if it's always been chick, CHICK for Chick-fil-A, which it's always been now in this reality? It used to be CHIC. You can watch. There's so much residue on that. Like, there's this thing where people go around reviewing chicken sandwiches in America. They go to Wendy's, Popeyes, KFC, and they make YouTube videos about it. It's like a big thing. And so many of their videos are titled CHIC. I'm at CHIC filet, Chick-fil-A. That's what it was. Some people pronounce it chic because of the way it was spelled. It's never been that now in this reality. So people know this. It's good.
Brian,
I'm seeing a lot more people getting it.
Brian, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. Hard to believe we're already through 90 minutes on Spaced Out Radio. We have Brian Staveley from Dose of Reality podcast on YouTube and Rumble talking about the Mandela Effect tonight and the interesting parts about it. We'll continue with your audience questions when we return on Spaced Out Radio right after this, everybody. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott. All right. Welcome back to SOR Chat. We don't do trolling in our room, so if I see trolls insulting our guest or my show, you will be immediately eliminated. All right. This is about having fun, enjoying the conversation. So we don't have a democracy here in our chat room. We have what we call a Davocracy, which means I make the rules for the chat room. And one of the strict rules I have is we appreciate everybody taking the time out, whether you agree with the guest or not. We always, always respect the guest. You don't have to agree with them, but respect the guest. So if you're going to come in here and try and insult the guests or the show, we don't need you. It's just that simple. And I don't need your subscriber either. Hey, Ron Baca, how you doing? And Carrie Skates, welcome to SOR Chat. Who else am I seeing here? Rezo8, welcome to SOR Chat. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Pixie Lara. Long live the Davocracy. That's right. Thank you. Damien K, good to see you. I just want to make a comment on that for a second here because, a lot of people take these, whether it's UFOs or Mandela Effect or Bigfoot, they take these stories so seriously that they get angry about it and mad. People are allowed to research what they want. They're allowed to believe what they want. What we do here is we allow you to choose. You don't have to believe Brian, right? You don't have to believe anybody who's on this show. That's up to you. But the one thing that I want new people to remember listening to this, our old school listeners, our OGs and our regulars here, they already know. And that is this. Our guest is giving you their time, right? They're giving you your time. And I think it's only fair that we show that respect back. Good morning, Castle Dude. How you doing? Pam Harris. Nice to see you. One more quarter. Welcome to SOR Chat. Exactly, Zaddy. There's enough space for all of us. Perfect. You done messed up there, AARO. Go see Principal O'Shag Hennessy. But I'm very thankful Brian has brought in a bunch of his listeners here tonight on the show, and maybe this is your first time listening to us. Hello and welcome. O'Shag Hennessy. Love that. I think that's the best skit, or one of the best skits ever. Denise. Denise. No, Speed Romans, you've never said anything. You're awesome. No, it's just Brian has a few people on the line who get mad, get real mad that he talks about this stuff. So what they do is they troll him on other channels, like when he's here. And you know what? We don't do trolling here. We don't. Disagree all you want. Just keep it respectful. Remember those human conversations we used to have before the internet? Yeah. Thank you tonight to Stephen, T-Bone with a hat trick, Melvin, and W. Decker with the amazing super chats tonight. Very much appreciate the love and support, everybody. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, no ugly swag. So make sure you check it on out. And here we go, everyone. Here we go with the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in. I love you guys for tuning us in and getting weird with us each and every night, putting on more tinfoil each and every night, making yourself look very wooful. And if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives. They're always free on every major podcast network, including Spotify, and on youtube.com/spaced out radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Final time tonight, we say hello to Brian Staveley, good friend of this show. He has a podcast and YouTube channel called Dose of Reality, and we are talking about the strange happenings of the Mandela Effect. Brian, thank you so much for being here, my bud. I love it when you're on this show.
Yeah, dude, I love coming on this show. You have a good vibe, man. So I always have fun over here. And honestly, I think that some of these conversations we have are some of the best. I have probably like a playlist of about 60, maybe even 70 interviews I've done. But very often I'll re-air on one of my backups some of the ones we've done for people. Like, I think they're great introductions into the topic.
Wonderful. And I appreciate it. And you know, I appreciate you taking the time because this is a controversial subject, the Mandela Effect. And for people just tuning in, this is where reality may not be what it seems to be. And you may be wondering how things have changed so subtly. And it has been subtle, Brian. It has been so subtle that most people don't even get to know or understand until it's already happened.
Yeah. Definitely.
So how do
I
we
think
move-
it's subtle on purpose. I think if it was all at once, and it'd be just too much for anybody to handle, you know. It's meant to be subtle, I think, in a way. Kind of see who's paying attention. Again, my message is, I've been doing podcasts for 14 years. Started with a lot of other topics, what people would call conspiracies and stuff like that. But through all of it, some of the major lessons I've learned, one of the first is to not live in fear. But besides that, it's to trust yourself, trust your senses, trust what you've experienced over what anybody tries to tell you reality is, or this place is, or anything. You should definitely be trusting yourself. And I think if you have that mindset and you start to look a little deeper at this Mandela Effect topic, you're going to start to see that something is definitely taking place here. And you might have a completely different theory to me as to what it is, but it's something more than us misremembering all these things in unison. And by just chance, we have all this evidence that backs us up. It's not that. And it's not just some elaborate psyop. If it was a psyop, again, the things in your house couldn't change. Sure, online things you look up, music, TV, that could change. It could have changed your hard copies. Could have changed the Bibles in your house. Couldn't change the maps. They should all represent what you remember them being. You've had that Bible in your house for 5 years, 10 years, 30 years. You know what those verses were, at least some of them. Open it up. The changes I tell you about are real. They're going to be in there. I'm not BSing you. You might disagree and say, well, that one's always been that. That's one thing. But I'm not BSing you and telling you, oh, yours is going to say the wolf and you're going to open it and it's still going to say the lion lays with the lamb. It's not. Open it right now. Every Bible in the world will say the wolf.
Which is weird because the lion is the king of the jungle. And yet a wolf is a very cagey, northern type animal in colder climates, in forested areas, and not really in the deserts of the Middle East.
Look at all the Lion and Lamb ministries and all the songs that sing about it. And where's all the wolf stuff? I mean, it's almost non-existent. Just like where's all the magic mirror people? I don't see them anywhere. Where's all the Hass avocados people? I don't see them anywhere. Almost none, like not a one. Everybody remembers the way things used to be. And we have all this physical evidence that backs it up. The amount of I've done so many videos showing the residue of the lion and the lamb, as well as so many people, and there's definitely people that are way more into Bible teachers than me, because like I said, I'm not a Bible guy, but there's a lot of people that'll show you hundreds of, if not more, changes in these. And I find a lot of them to be very legitimate. And from the outside looking in, I can investigate. So I've covered about a dozen or so of them because of the amount of evidence, and some that I do know, like the two or more, like the Lord's Prayer or wineskins, not being in the KJV anymore. Now it's wine bottles. Everybody remembers it as wineskins in there. Also, because there are some that are KJV exclusive, and there's many that are universal. And I'll always specify the word planets is now in KJV in place of constellations in Kings 2:23-5. I talked about the angel of death. There's a whole bunch of other the Job 121. You'll hear it at every wake, basically. The Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. Well, the Lord taketh away that verse because no version of the Bible now says that. Very similar wording. Lord gives and takes away. No Lord giveth and taketh away. No do unto others. You know what do unto others says now? It says do to others. Do to others as you would have them do to you. Where did we get unto from? Where did we get forefathers in the Gettysburg Address from? I'll tell you, from the Gettysburg Address. And we got do unto others from the Bible because they were there. We're not crazy. Something's happening to reality. What I have a hard time understanding is many things, but like people that are so open-minded to talk about some of the things we do on my channel before this topic and some of the things that you guys talk about over here, very open-minded topics, but the people still that get that far, and then when it comes to this, it's like they become very like fundamental to the reality almost. It's really, really weird.
I want to ask you, do you know of any scientists or university studies being done on the Mandela Effect?
I've seen university study disinfo campaigns that people keep recirculating, like one in particular. The University of Chicago supposedly did this big thing on the Mandela Effect. They had this big, like, supposed breakdown on it. It was a complete joke. And I've done videos tearing it apart. So they're not going to do us any favors. I really, a lot of people might think differently than me, but I really do believe that the people that run most of the control of this realm want to hide the supernatural at all costs. This is the supernatural, and they're going to do whatever they can to cover it up. And I think the media and all the institutions are all in on it. And it doesn't mean everybody that works there and every professor and but at the top, And
the reason why I asked that is because, up until 7 years ago, we were wingnuts for believing in UFOs and alien life forms. Now we got UAP and NHI, non-human intelligence. Is it only a matter of time?
I'm sure you believe that the government is going to muddy the waters any way they can with all that, right? Like they're going to. Do you think they're ever going to give you a full disclosure, or it's going to be in this direction?
No,
exactly.
I believe when it comes to UFOs, I believe in confirmation of the phenomena. I don't believe that disclosure will happen. No.
Yeah. They're always going to muddy the waters, and they're going to do the same thing and misdirect with the Mandela Effect. They have to address these things because people are talking about it. They got to address these things. But I don't think the universities are going to help us. I don't think NASA is going to help us. I don't think the U.S. government's going to help us with any of this stuff. Honestly, I think they're here to deceive us personally.
Troy is asking, can governments create subliminal videos to confuse the human mind as it relates to the Mandela Effect?
Oh, I mean, dude, so we know, like, before this AI really ramped up in the last year or so, right? And, like, what people can use easily. I mean, we knew this was going to become a problem So there's all kinds of fake videos coming out for the Mandela Effect. So, for instance, obviously AI can put videos out now, then they could say that they're old videos and somehow misdirect people in that way, right? But the other thing that's going on is just with cheap video editing, people are making these fake videos like, this guy has a Berenstein book and he walks into his bedroom and now it says Berenstein and he goes back and forth. He's got a portal and it's just video editing, this guy's got a phone that looks at the Mandela affected items and it sees it the old way. It's just video editing. And TikTok's been a real pain in the butt as far as people spreading just disinfo. So I don't know if they wanted a deeper answer on that question, but I think there is definitely a psyop going on with different videos, and they're getting celebrities to come out like that Mr. T commercial and all this stuff to do these ridiculous mockeries of the Mandela Effect. And they definitely want to confuse.
Right on. All right, let's get to another question here. Let's go to Vanessa. Are we being gaslighted to the point of confusion and doubt in our own knowledge, memory, or sanity?
That's what everybody that's trying to tell you this is just a psyop is doing. Not everybody, because there are people that haven't looked and they legitimately think it's a psyop. I'm going to tell you what, though, Dave. There's a lot of people that know this is real but won't admit it because they have an agenda, and because this is such a deep thing. Because no matter it becomes it's the underlying aspect of reality. A lot of people won't look at it because they think it's going to upset everything they've ever looked at. Well, so what? Every polarizing topic I come to makes me reassess my look on reality, right? You know what I mean? Like, that's just the thing. Yeah, but we are being gaslit. I'm being gaslit by most of the people on YouTube, I think. To the point it's ridiculous. You're not going to convince me that I'm misremembering the Monopoly man having a monocle, not knowing what my Volkswagen looked like, and not knowing where the land masses of the earth or my kidneys were. Sorry, I'm not stupid.
All right, let's continue on here. Let's go to Paramarv. I saw a YouTube video. Guy used 432 and 525 megahertz frequencies in one room of his home and walked into that room holding up a book. And we watch it change Berenstein to Berenstain. What's your thoughts?
I just specifically addressed that, and check this out. Not only did I just address that, I recreated that video in my house with video editing, with my friend Karen B, with a Berenstain book, and showed it doing the same thing in my house, which didn't have a portal, because it's just a cheap video editing trick. And we recreated it within a couple hours. You can find it on my channels. Literally, I have a video. It's only like 4 minutes long recreating that. I'd play it right now, but I know we're doing the radio audience thing, so it's not really going to work out well. But I can show you how that's done. It's easily done. It's a fake video.
T-Bone wants to know, are there any American presidential Mandela effects?
Yeah, people have talked about some, and I am just not up to snuff on my presidents enough. Well, there's a ton to do with JFK. I mean, so many people remember 4 people being in the car, and now it's always 6. The color, I remember the Zapruder film was in black and white and colorized later. Now it was always shot in color. I could show you about 13 different angles of the assassination by people running around with color hand cams. There's also, you can hear the shots now on something called the Dictabelt recording, where there was supposedly this audio that went along with the video. So a whole bunch to do with JFK. Definitely, hold on, let's keep going here, actually. First of all, Mandela only has 1 L now. I remember it with 2 L's as well, like you have on screen there. But I also remember Hillary Clinton changing from 1 L to 2 L's to 1 L to 2 L's. It was going back and forth for a while. People have talked about, as far as what presidents are on certain coins, that some of that might have changed. I really don't know. There was a dome on the White House, which is no longer there. It's been Mandela affected out of reality. Some great residue of there being a dome on the White House, and no, we're not confusing it with the Capitol building. Go watch Superman 2. You remember Superman 2? Or it might have been Superman 3. But he's flying back to the White House carrying the dome of the White House with the flag on it, and it's still in the movie. And the reason that's allowed to remain in the movie, well, he wasn't really carrying the real dome of the White House as it was filmed, right? I mean, it was a prop. And there it is. There was a dome on the White House. Other presidential Mandela effects. I mean, I talked about the Gettysburg Address. I know that's not, that's his speech that's changed. There's actually, we could probably go on for a while about this. There's actually a lot to do with that. And I think there's reasons for that. A lot of corruption is being pointed out. What's the DEA stand for in America, Dave? Do you know?
The DEA?
Yeah.
Department
Use the
of...
word drug.
Oh, Drug Enforcement Agency. Sorry.
Not in this reality, pal. Now it's always been the Drug Enforcement Administration. What? It was always the Drug Enforcement Agency. Never now in this reality. So much of that going on.
All right. Let us continue on here. Let us go to Paramarv again. Oh, I saw in a YouTube video where someone was using the camera of an old cell phone to look at a Jif peanut butter jar, and it was showing as Jiffy on the phone screen. Your thoughts?
Yep. I just talked about this one as well. So first off, that's another fake video. And I know you might say, oh, he's just calling it a fake video. I mean, this is how you easily fake a pre-recorded video. If they were going to do that and you wanted to prove to me and somehow that might be real, I would need two people filming, second one doing a live stream with the camera perspective viewing the first person. And not only that, during that live stream, the person holding the second camera would need to be taking prompts from us in the chat and doing things so we know that it's not a pre-recorded video. And then I'll believe that something's going on. But not only that, when you look deeper into that, there's two things in there that stand out really bad. Besides, obviously, I know it's a fake video because when the Mandela Effect changes something, you're not getting it with the camera or video. All that changes with the reality. But here's the thing. There's two bad things they put in there because they don't do their research. They tried to use a Kit Kat because Kit Kat's a huge Mandela Effect. Kit Kat used to have a dash. Now it's never had a dash in this reality. But what they did is they took the Kit Kat logo from today and they photoshopped in a dash and showed it through that phone. But they didn't show the old fonts. They showed the new way Kit Kat's written, right? But not only that, there's another Mandela Effect that people who aren't so deep into it still think it's a legit Mandela Effect, but it's not. So Cup O Noodles is now Cup Noodles, okay? However, that is an actual documented company change. People thought it was a Mandela Effect for a while. It's a documented company change, not a Mandela Effect, okay? They changed the name in 1993, I believe, and he shows a Cup Noodles change into Cup O Noodles in that phone. Well, I know that that's a bad Mandela Effect. He doesn't have a magical phone. It's video editing. Fake videos, man. Got to use a lot of discernment here. But I have a video breaking that down as well. I've covered this stuff.
All right, let's go to Castle Dude. Was Nelson Mandela the OG Mandela Effect, or was it happening prior to him?
Happened prior to him. 100%. Even for me, happened prior. I had one before I heard of the term Mandela Effect was even around. I know the thing with him, people remember him dying in prison in the 80s or whatever, but I've talked to people who have experienced changes before the 80s, 100%. Somebody asked earlier, did it have a name before? Well, one woman wrote about it for about 20 years now, which predates the Fiona Broom thing. Her name's Cynthia Sue Larson. She was calling it reality shifts. It was more about the ones that involve people dying and coming back, not specifically Nelson Mandela, though. For me, one is Louis Anderson. I remember the comedian Louis Anderson dying about 20 years ago. And then about 2 years ago, I saw that he was alive still doing comedy, and he was dead for me 20 years ago. But yeah, Louis Anderson was alive in 2022, people. If you remember the comedian Louis Anderson dying many years ago, go look at it, look him up. He just died recently.
Yeah, he died January 21st.
Yeah. That's crazy to me.
All right, let's move on here because we only got 5.5 minutes and 3 more questions. The Unknown wants to know, my favorite Mandela Effect is the Jackie Robinson one. I've never heard of this one.
I don't know what that one is either.
You'll have to put that in the chat room and I'll try and bring it back up. Let's go Castle Dude again. What's the purpose of Mandela Effect? To confuse us?
No, to wake us up to the deeper aspects of reality and the supernatural aspects and whatever the next place we're going after we're done with this experience here is. I think that's a lot of it. A lot of it seems there is a puzzle or messages put there for us. Some of it seems like guidance to nudge us in certain directions. Maybe it's to show us deceptions in this world. A lot of the deceptions, which we're not going to get into tonight, have huge amounts of Mandela effects in them, which I think shines a light on them. Obviously, we just mentioned JFK. We won't go too far down that road, though, but there's a lot of that going on. We mentioned some of these agencies that have changed and things like that. So I think that's a lot of it as well.
Woo Child brings up a good one here. Looney Tunes versus Looney Tunes. Tunes
Yeah.
spelled originally Tunes, now Toons.
It's the other way around. It used to be Toons, now it's Tunes. And it's interesting too, because the Tiny Toons remain Tiny Toons with the two O's. And they're the same characters just when they were younger. And then on top of that, Tiny Toons got Mandela affected, and now it's singular and just Tiny Toon. It always has been.
Man. All right. Final question from our audience tonight goes to Derek, who is asking, how about the Michael Jackson guitar Mandela effect? I've never heard of this one.
Oh, dude, that's one of the best ones. You really need the visuals. We won't do it now, but you can check it after. So near the opening of the movie, you know how he goes to Doc's house and he plugs in the electric guitar and he blows the amp?
Yes.
So when he plugs in the guitar and the camera pans out and shows him holding the guitar, describe the guitar to me.
It's like one of those mini version guitars, like those shrunken down guitars that came out in the 80s.
What color?
I think it was yellow.
Wow, that's interesting. You're the first person I've ever heard remember it that way. I remember it being a regular size electric guitar. That looks so silly to me the way it is now.
But I could tell you, the other guitar changed for me when he's playing the Johnny B. Good.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that was a Les Paul, and now it's a larger style of Gibson guitar.
Gibson, yeah. And how about this? Rock Around the Clock is played in that movie. Who sings it?
Isn't that Bill
Continue.
Daly? I forget his band name, though.
The band was Bill Haley and the Comets.
That's right.
Well, Bill Haley and the Comets is now Mandela affected and always been Bill Haley and his Comets. On top of that, where these things tie in with other ones, Bill Haley and his Comets, obviously a reference to Haley's Comet. Well, Haley's Comet itself has been Mandela affected and is now Halley's Comet with a short A and two L's. Always been Halley's Comet now. Get anybody with that all day.
Under 2 minutes to go here with you tonight, Brian, and this is always a fun show when we bring you on to do Mandela Effect stories. What do you want people to know the most about your research into this?
That I try to be very thorough, use the sermon. I don't just throw crap up against the wall. I have a criteria to call something a Mandela effect. I don't just call something I don't remember a Mandela effect. It's the other way, I have to have the large majority of the people I ask, like 80, 90% of the people remember it the old way, have all this residual evidence. I think it's a fascinating topic. I think, how could this not blow your mind? And how could, if you want to know, what are we? What's our existence? What's out there? What's in here? What is this place? Where are we going next? I think the Mandela effect has to be talked about. I mean, it's a huge aspect of all of it. And I personally do believe that the creator of this realm is reaching out to us, and I'm not going to ignore that call. So I do have a show called Dose of Reality. If you search me on any platform, Brian S. Stabley, it should bring it up. I did change my YouTube channel from Brian S. Stabley to Dose of Reality with Brian Stabley. Either search term should bring it up on my channel. I have a list of interviews, but what I have that I really like to bring up, I almost forgot too. I did put together a list with the help of my friend Dan Wiley on my website, a Mandela Effect master list of what I consider to be 200 super strong changes. I'll stand on die on the hill for those changes. Like, they're really, I think, very legit Mandela effects. So if people want to know where to start, you could look at that list, therealnewsonline.com, and then just click the Mandela master list, therealnewsonline.com. And also, I have a short list of videos on my channel. I do live streams all the time, 3, 4, 5 hour live streams. I talk about the stuff a couple times a week, take calls, show the residue. But particularly if you want to look and you want to get into this topic now, I have a list where I've done one Mandela effect per video, broken each one down, showed the residue, my take on it, and they're digestible, 15, 20 minutes.
Dose of Reality, Brian Staveley, thanks for coming on Spaced Out Radio. Steve Stockton kicks off hour 3 of the show next.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we are clear. Thank you, Brian.
Thank
Appreciate
you. Yeah, man. So for the YouTube audience, yeah, real quick, if you go to my channel, just scroll down a little. Mandela Effect short videos. There's 124 of them as of right now. Those are like my biggest changes. All the big ones I talked about tonight, I pretty much have one video breaking it down. Definitely check it out. I have this playlist of Bible changes as well, if that's your thing.
To Rachel in the chat room who came in because of Brian, just want to show you my bottle of Night Train. Okay, because we were talking GNR in the chat room. There's my bottle of
Nice.
Night Train. And not many people actually have a Guns N' Roses candle. I have a collection of GNR stuff. Oh, it smells cinnamony. So I thought you'd enjoy that, Rachel. And Brian, I'll let you go. You have a great night. Thank you for bringing your listeners over to our chat room as well.
Thank you. And just one more thing, guys. When I do live streams, I take phone calls. You can call in with your experiences. I do that a lot. I think that's a huge part of our community. So check it out. Dose of Reality. Thank you, Dave.
All right. Take care, Brian. Brian Staveley, everybody. Very much appreciate him coming on in. And we're going to take a break here. Hour 3 is next. And for everybody who came to see Brian, like Buckeye Jim, Rachel, and Angela Baby Carson, stick around. We got another hour to go. We're going to have some fun and get into some UFOs. Be right back, everybody. Andrew, I land in Nebraska in about 11:30. I got a poster and stickers for you too, coming your way. All right. Angela, where in Canada are you? All right. Big thank you tonight to T-Bone with a hat trick, and W. Decker, Melvin, Andrew, and Stephen for the super chats tonight. Thank you for the love and support of Spaced Out Radio. Very much appreciate it. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. Here we go. Here we go with the final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America. Very much appreciate you tuning us on in. And digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Tractor. Tractor is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. It's that time of the night. We say hello to Steve Stockton from Among the Missing and another spooky story.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Among the Missing YouTube channel on Spaced Out Radio. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'm about to take you on an unbelievable journey of people just like you. Their stories and encounters will haunt us on Among the Missing. Born Elizabeth Eaton Converse, August 4, 1924, in Laconia, New Hampshire, Connie was raised by religiously strict parents in a time that was difficult for women to break through into professional music careers. Converse would win a college scholarship, but would never even finish high school, choosing instead to pack up and move to New York. Being exposed to the counterculture of the Bohemians and the Beatniks in the 1950s, Converse started her music career in the exclusive Greenwich Village, New York scene. In 1974, Connie Converse would go missing, and her disappearance would become as much of an enigma as much of her life was. In 1954, a friend of Converse helped her record her first set of songs in the kitchen of their home. Working for a printing firm at the time, Converse was passionate about her music and would later be attributed as the first modern singer-songwriter. Arguably some of the most hauntingly beautiful songs of the time, her acoustic sound and sophistication of melodies were done with ease and set her apart from other folk performers in that era, such as Pete Seeger and Woody Guthrie. Not known as the strongest vocalist or the best instrument player, Converse was, however, able to deliver an intimacy and depth in her music that wouldn't be duplicated again for decades. She sang about arguing lovers, promiscuity, loneliness, and other life events that were taboo for a lady to even speak of in those times, let alone sing about. These songs came from somewhere deep within Converse, almost like she'd lived them. Maybe she had. There was a hurt and vulnerability in her voice that came out through the words and catches the listener right in the feelings. The friend that helped her record her songs would later say, "The more I thought about it, the songs were all about herself." After leaving music behind, Converse would go on to edit the Journal of Conflict Resolution, did amateur cartoon drawings, and was a very vocal political activist. After the recording of that first demo in the kitchen and trying to make a go of her music career, Converse became depressed because the songs weren't being picked up by any producers or radio stations. This is where her life would take a major turn. To deal with the depression she was encountering, Converse would turn to drinking heavily. Her depression never receded and seemed to be relentless. Decades after recording her first song, Connie Converse would finally get the recognition and admiration for her music she so desperately sought in the 1950s. In 2009, a small New York label would come across her recordings and produce an album called How Sad, How Lonely. The music, considering when it was recorded, sounds eerily contemporary. David Herman of Squirrel Thing Records said of Converse's music. He would go on to say, her voice is really compelling. Add that to the fact this was a woman writing singer-songwriter style music in the mid-50s, before being a singer-songwriter was even a thing, and before a female singer-songwriter was something that people were used to. Add that with the mystery of her disappearance, the whole thing leaves you with more questions than answers. There would also be a 40-minute documentary by American filmmaker Andrea Kahns dedicated to the rediscovery of Connie Converse at the Sensoria Film and Music Festival that was played on Connie Converse Tribute Night. Connie would also find a cult following decades after she gave up on her music career. People are still drawn to her folk style and her adult contemporary lyrics and sound. With the release of her songs and the documentary, Connie Converse finally has some of the spotlight she envisioned so many decades ago. In the summer of 1974, and just days before her 50th birthday, Connie Converse wrote friends and family to let them know of her plans to leave her Michigan home and start fresh somewhere else. Her plans were only known to her as she packed her belongings in her VW Beetle and drove off into the night. She hasn't been seen nor heard from since.
Thank you to Steve Stockton from Among the Missing for another great story on Among the Missing, which is heard to kick off hour number 3 of each show here on Spaced Out Radio. If you want more, just go to youtube.com/Among the Missing and hit subscribe, ring that bell. From the missing to the mysterious, Nicole Sackage is here for a vacationing now, Courtney Marcassani on Spaced Out Radio's UFO Court.
That is an interplanetary flying space saucer. You have made me very angry. Very angry indeed.
All right, Nicole Sackage in for Courtney Marcassani, who is traveling and making her way west once again. And we're always glad for you to fill in, Nicole. Thank you for being here.
I'm telling you, Courtney needs a jet. She's jet setting one side to the other instead of her vehicle. She needs to be able to get places faster. That's what I think. Who wants to send Courtney a helicopter? Do we have anybody who's in control of any sort of black helicopters that could just pick Courtney up and transport her someplace?
We need her to have her own personal man in black to chauffeur her from Alaska all the way to the East Coast and all the way back. Definitely.
Well, I think she just needs the equipment herself. Like, I mean, I've seen what she's capable of. Just somebody send her a helicopter or a jet.
Yes.
Get
Yes.
there.
Robert Bigelow may have one or two, so he should just lend her one. Just lend her one to go get it done.
I mean, I know you're saving for one, like a Spaced Out Radio private jet. So eventually we'll be able to utilize it to get all around. So how's your day? What's going on?
Well, I was kind of caught up in the whole UFO world today again because the new report from AARO came out.
Yeah.
And they were stating that the Kingman incident at Kingman Air Force Base was definitely not a UFO, but it was, sit down and get prepared for this one, another weather balloon. We're back to weather balloons as the answer for everything now, Nicole.
Well, not everything, just UAPs.
Well, let's take a look at this report. So it says here, let's see here. Oh, this is the Eglin one. That's the Eglin Air Force Base one. But let's get back to Kingman here for a second.
Okay.
How long until we get swamp gas again?
Oh, I don't know. I'm sure it's on a cycle like our friend Poland.
I'm getting a little bit of background noise. That's your audio is a little bit off. So if you don't mind, I would appreciate that. But I mean, when you sit there and you hear weather balloons, you hear, swamp gas again, because remember one of those 106-year-old senators when the first talks happened, he's like, "Are you sure it isn't swamp gas? How do we know it's not swamp gas?" I mean, can we really, really believe that we're still using these excuses for the phenomena that is out there?
Yeah, I can, because I think the patterns of what they've been able to float in the past are still in play. And so I think they'll keep repeating what's been used before and beat some dead horses and then drag those horses back up again and beat them some more. Like the balloon excuse, with Roswell, it went from a balloon to a super secret, type of balloon. Um, we've seen it thrown around with Balloon Gate of all of last year. Was there some misinformation thrown in there? Was there real balloons? Was it all Chinese spy balloons? Was it Illinois Bottle Cap Balloon Brigade, weather balloon? Was something recovered? Was it not? Balloon was tagged all over that. I think with both of these reports that come out of AARO, I think there's information to be had in them. But then I think there's also this repackaging happening. Like I'm saying, there's a pattern to this. What are they going to use that's worked well before? Repackage that, send it back out, see what flies, see what doesn't. You've made your statement. What I find interesting is that in all of AARO's lifespan, we've gotten so much information out of them in the last couple months that is that making up for the lack of information we got from them before, or is it just that they're just now winding up to be able to start kicking out these things? But yeah.
Well, there's a report out of Eglin Air Force Base called the Eglin UAP.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. On January 26, 2023, a military pilot reported 4 potential unidentified anomalous phenomena while operating the Eglin Air Force Base training range off the coast of Florida. Through the onboard radar system, the pilot initially observed that the 4 objects were aloft between 16 and 18,000 feet and appeared to be flying in formation. However, the pilot observed only one of the 4 objects visually and captured 2 images of the single object via the aircraft's electro-optical infrared sensor. The pilot could not record the video of the event because guess what? Yep, you guessed it. The aircraft's video recording equipment was inoperable prior to and during the aircraft's flight. Go figure on that one, Nicole. Just happens to have no camera working on the jet at the time.
It happens. I mean, UFOs fly over your car, the whole car shuts down. I imagine it could shut down a jet camera if it wanted to. Or that could be an excuse and things are misplaced, or I mean, you've heard all the excuses that always comes with cameras or videos, or whether it's in a jet or it's somebody on the side of a beach not having a tripod with them, whatever it is. A flaw in the camera.
You see, and I always thought, in my limited knowledge of military aircraft, that the cameras are always rolling in case of incident. And random guy in our chat room says they don't watch jets with no cams. I would agree with that.
You would think that would be substandard equipment. So
Well, let's go on in this report, because the key findings in this, as AARO assesses the report, very likely was an ordinary object and was not exhibiting anomalous or exceptional characteristics of flight behaviors. AARO has moderate confidence in this assessment due to the limited data provided. AARO assesses the object was a lighter than air object, such as a large form factor balloon, a meteorological balloon, a large mylar balloon, or a large commercial outdoor helium filled lighting balloon. Once again, balloons. AARO
Oh,
has moderate confidence in its identification of the object. AARO bases this assessment on a thorough review of the data collected, official pilot accounts of the object's description and behavior, laboratory testing of a commercial lighting balloon determined to have similar physical characteristics to the object described in the pilot's report, a reconstruction of the flight geometry and the sun angle at the time of observation. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't really see AARO going to an open field outside of the Pentagon, okay, and saying, let's launch a balloon and see what it looks like at 16 to 18,000 feet. I don't see that happening.
there are some diligent researchers out there that try that stuff and do those things and see if they can replicate what people have seen in the sky, or do the best kind of field work that they can. But I don't know. I've just always assumed they were understaffed and underfunded, and I've questioned their capabilities, you know, all along the way. But, in that read through right there, I just forgot, like, probably my favorite balloon story of the last 3 years is the Batman balloon. The
The
big
Batman.
Batman. Wasn't that the balloon story or the UFO story that the debris broke and it looked like the shield?
It was on this show. It was
Yeah.
on this show that Tim and
I know. And there was, there was the triangle craft, like fallout, like misunderstanding that happened with McMillan after that led to that glorious panel that me, you, and Grant and Bob and Cahill, and who was the barking dog? Oh, wait, that was McMillan's dog barking in the background. Like, so, I don't, is that one of the cases that have been proven to be a balloon? The Batman shield balloon UFO?
maybe. But I believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure if you'll know this or not, but I believe this was the report that Congressman Matt Gaetz had brought to the congressional hearings that he had heard from the firsthand witnesses.
I can't confirm that. I haven't followed Gates close enough to know what he's brought into it. I kind of had my celebratory moment with the Wilson Davis notes being brought up by, was it Gallagher? And then,
Yes.
I kind of lost all their ins and outs from there. So I start paying attention again when they're like, hearings, let's do a hearing. So
He still looks like Beavis, Matt Gaetz.
nah, no, I don't think so.
Totally looks like Beavis.
In a tie and everything.
That's just my thoughts on it. Still lots of rumblings about Whistleblower. Jason Sands coming out. He actually put out a statement earlier today in regards to clarifying what was going on in his report. He wanted to clarify some things on that. I'm just trying to find the statement here because all of a sudden, when you need it, it disappears from your screen. But what was your thoughts on that statement?
I liked it. I think he was clear and concise and tried to rectify some of the Twitter space blast radius, I think, of immediate questions and confusion. And I liked James Fox made a statement today as well, or finally tweeted. So
yeah, we're going to get into that because I do want to talk about James Fox, who's been taking a lot of heat in the last 96 hours or so since the weekend Twitter space that Jason Sands, new whistleblower, came out on. But here's the statement by Sands through a new UFO group called UAP United, which I think was honestly just started in the last 48 hours or whatever. It says official statement from Jason Sands on recent discussions and misrepresentations. Regarding the process of whistleblowing and the various bodies involved, the National Defense Authorization Act outlines the whistleblower process, not the Inspector General's process. The role of the Intelligence Community Inspector General, where my case was ultimately directed, focuses specifically on investigations within the intelligence community. This was decided after some deliberation about whether my case should go to the Department of Defense Inspector General due to my role as an action officer last year. The distinction was made because my experiences related to my time on active duty as an intelligence analyst. Importantly, under the NDAA whistleblower legislative protections, the ICIG process does not confer any additional whistleblower status once a person is covered under these protections. In recent conversations, particularly during the spaced out radio broadcast around the 3-hour, 40-minute timestamp, I clarified that while 20 and Back is not an official program name, it refers to a significant, though difficult, experience within the programs I was a part of. It appears that this crucial part of my statement was omitted in some posts, leading to misunderstandings about my testimony. I am committed to providing more information soon to further clarify the challenging aspects of my experience with the program. There have been inaccuracies in public discussions about my clearance and credentials. Richard Doty recently suggested that the system used to look up my clearances was incorrect. My clearance levels and specific access details are not publicly accessible and require specific read-ins, which not everyone discussing my case has. Eric Davis also made erroneous claims regarding the system of record for my clearances, such access is compartmentalized and limited to those with equivalent clearance levels. Both Mr. Doty and Mr. Davis have made significant errors in their public statements regarding my case. I urge them to retract their statements and correct the record. To everyone navigating through the intricacies of these discussions and disclosures, I appreciate your patience and diligence in seeking the truth. It's crucial that these conversations reflect the complexities and sensitivities of the issue at hand accurately. I remain committed to transparency and the pursuit of clarity in this ongoing dialogue. Jason Sands. We got about 45 seconds. Just your thoughts on this, Nicole.
It's like I said, I think after a brutal 6+ hour long Twitter X space where he got rapid fire questions for that long, I think a written out statement kind of clarifying everything and stating his peace of mind was good. And I mean, I made some pretty harsh statements against Eric Davis, and the next day his comments were taken down. So, and other people walked back their statements as well, kind of across the Twitterverse. So
Many
I
have.
know they're all. So
Nicole, hold on right there. We're going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. UFO Court. Nicole Sackage filling in for Courtney Marcassani. Next, we talk about the movie man James Fox and his statement.
This is Spaced Out Radio and your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we're clear. Random guy in the chat room. Of course, my last base couldn't pull my records either. It's common if you work in an SAP, so that's accurate. It's kind of interesting.
I think what I've been pondering, because, I haven't spoken with Mr. Sands directly. I think a little piece that I've been pondering, it was mentioned so fast, and he said about participating in the 20 and back program and being an unwilling participant in that. And I don't know, maybe it's just my intuition from speaking with so many experiencers and maybe understanding a little bit how they fumble through trying to piece these traumatic stories together for themselves. But I mean, it sounds like when he was debriefed, he was still pretty shaken up by everything. And then later, when he's trying to rectify these situations and realizing that he's like an unwilling participant in this program or programs, or at least parts of these programs he's an unwilling participant in. So it just makes you wonder if people involved in these SAPs, because we've heard other people say, people said they were working for OSAP and they had no idea they were working for OSAP until later. So it
Right.
just makes me wonder in hindsight, it's like, and I'm completely speculating, but it's like going all the way back to that incident for Sands where it began for him, where he first saw that being. It's like, I just wonder if he was part of the program then, if he speculates that, or if he's figured any of those pieces out. Because I know those pieces are hard for people even on the inside to put together, things like that when they are compartmentalized. They're completely compartmentalized. They don't know every piece of whatever they're working on all the time. So there's just a lot to unpack with that, and my mind has been reeling for 72 hours. But I'll be right back. I gotta let Evil Dog Buster inside.
All right, say hi to Buster for us. Hi, Mr. Attorney. Mm-hmm. Very cool. Very cool. And what's going on? Anybody else hanging out? Random guy, are you going to be up all night again tonight? Because I'm hitting the road about 1 a.m., 2 a.m. tonight. I'd give you a little ring-a-ling if you needed. Jojo, how are you? With a nice, simple, hi, Dave. I'm Jojo. I'll just say back, hi, I'm Dave. All right. I am heading to Nebraska. So I have to leave home here in a couple hours and then drive down to Vancouver, check into the airport at least 3.5 hours before because it's an international flight, and fly to Dallas, Texas, and then to Nebraska. Thank you tonight to Random Guy, Andrew, Steven, T-Bone with the hat trick, Melvin, and W. Decker for the super chats. Very much appreciate the love and support, guys. Here we go, everyone. Here we go with the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Reminder to all of you that if you missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. We continue on with Nicole Sackich here on Spaced Out Radio. We are talking on UFO Court. Nicole filling in for the vacationing Courtney Marcassani. Thank you for joining us, Nicole.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Before we get started, I noticed our radio audience won't be able to see this, but I noticed you have a lot of birds, painted birds in the background. Why is that?
Well, this is kind of just my fun little nod because, when you're working on some intense projects or researching, like everybody jokes or I joke that I'd like to dance things out or raise my vibration. Well, you find creative ways to also express things, to represent what you're working on. Well, not very many people know I'm a terrible artist. Terrible. But my mother happens to be a glorious artist. And at least I know she is. But I'm working on this project with Grant, and it's kind of a film, and it's kind of a continuation of some of his books. So, and a lot of those players that we're talking about and interviewing, and yeah, just trying to continue to sort out are Avery members or have been given Avery membership, I should say, because they didn't choose their bird names or anything. So I just mentioned to my mom that I'm doing this Avery project and how many people I've made contact with. And, I have these moments with her. And so, she started producing these bird pictures and paintings for me. So this was spontaneous, but I have given her specific birds that she needs to paint now. So I have a blue jay on the way and a pelican on the way and a sparrow. Although these are kind of sparrows, these two, which I think is funny because I am talking to a sparrow. So yeah, that's my birds. They haven't found a home yet. I might have my mom actually sign them and sell them. I don't know.
I think that's great. If you were one of the aviary birds, what kind of bird would you be?
Me? Well, that's a funny question. Like a lot of people toss around there when they first get in the aviary. They're like, "What would your code name be?" So I go back and I picture like what inspired Bill Moore and J.B. Shandera. Why birds? First of all, maybe because there's a lot of them, but then nobody really knows. It's speculated there's like 24 of them in total, but nobody really knows all of their true identities. So there is still a lot of speculation on who's who that has been sorted for about half of them, but about half, the other half, like that's all up for grabs, and you don't really even know their bird designation. And then, of course, these people have been renamed over the years too. So there's those nicknames to contend with as well.
But what bird would you choose?
Well, the phenomenon some experiencers talk about how the phenomenon gives them a name. When I first started this bird project about 5 years ago now, or 4, I had a download moment, and it involved grabbing a poetry book and a sighting all over my county, actually. And I got it on tape. Well, part of that download told me to read certain poems from this book, and then the first line it was snowbird. So it gave me a nickname, and I've teased my own phenomenon back with that over the years, because I'm like, snowbird, that makes me sound like I'm a retiree, or like what even is a snowbird? Like, I thought those were people that retired like out west or down south where it got warm. So
A snowbird is from 431 Squadron in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan.
oh, nice.
Canada's air demonstration team is called the Snowbirds.
Well, and then somebody else gave me the bird name Flamingo, which I thought was funny. And I think that was in reference to my skinny legs. And then as a part of this project with Grant, one of the filmmakers, we were having this similar story. And he's like, either Thunderbird or Dove. And I was like, there might be an actual dove. I'm not sure if that's an actual Avery bird designation or not, but I kind of liked Thunderbird because they have a Native American representation that I like for my Midwestern area. The Thunderbirds fight the serpents. So,
If I were to choose my bird, this is going to sound funny, but it makes sense when I say it. Because I like the woo and, all the excrement that goes along with it, unprofessional. Anyways, I figured that I would be, my favorite color is blue. I figured I would be woo, blue, and I'd be a blue-footed booby. That's me.
nice. Okay.
So in my own personal aviary, I am a blue-footed booby. So that's what I'm going to be.
I like it. Well, they all have fish names as well. So Dan Smith, a researcher, and he's into all sorts of other woo. I'll say woo, but he's like a kind of an honorary Avery member. I think they started calling him Chicken Little, and so Grant's talking with Chicken Little now. We've kind of divided like who's talking to who and stuff like that. So, there's some interesting stories to unpack there. But back before he got his designation, he was kind of mad that he wasn't a member of the aviary, which there was no membership because it wasn't a real group, And so he gave them all fish names instead of bird names. So that's where the aquarium comes from, is Chicken Little. Oh, blue-footed booby. There you go.
I'm just showing to our audience members the blue-footed booby,
which is an actual bird.
It is an actual bird. I didn't make it up. And in the chat room right now, Super Crazy says, I want to be a pelican. In my area, this is where the pelicans come to breed. They fly up from the coastlines, come into British Columbia, land in our lakes, eat our fish. They mate, and then they fly home. Pretty cool. But
I call Grant the Canadian goose.
That's a good one.
He has this whole thing where he always tells me, he's like, the geese are flying south. They'll be over. You know what I mean? I'm always like, hey, your geese are here. And then I tell him when they fly back north, I'm like, they're headed your way. But it's funny. I don't know.
All right, let's move on because James Fox, who is a friend of yours and a documentary filmmaker on everything on the subject of UFOs, getting back to Jason Sands, put out a statement today on Facebook and Twitter. And this statement read, James Fox here. Those who know me or are familiar with my work know I fiercely go the extra mile to weed out unsupportable claims. I have spent the last year conducting numerous interviews, researching claims, and doing my best to verify, within my means, people's credentials and the veracity of their statements. As part of this mix, I met with Mr. Jason Sands a little over a year ago concerning whom there has arisen a fierce debate on social media concerning his claims of official involvement in the UAP area and specific experiences associated with such. As part of my due diligence, I can state that he is who he says he is, has served in the military, and is willing to testify under oath and even take a polygraph test regarding his claims. Nonetheless, as with other whistleblowers who go public, this doesn't mean that what he has stated shouldn't be questioned regarding apparent inconsistencies and difficult to resolve claims. Evaluation of such continues to be a work in progress. What's your thoughts of this, Nicole?
I think it's a great statement. I think it's exactly how James operates. And I have been fortunate to develop a friendship with him over the years. And it was completely by accident, honestly. And he's always been very kind to me and answered any questions that I've politely asked him, or explained things that, maybe I knew only he could explain. And that kind of started back with the Wilson Davis notes, too. Like, I knew he had been offered a set of those, like along with Erica Lukes, and we were kind of, looser friends then. But even before that, we met on Facebook. Is how we met. And I thought he was an older brother of one of my friends that shares the last name Fox. And he had stumbled across me and my Facebook, like one of my original Facebook groups where I started speaking about ufology, like live, in the comfort of that group. It wasn't a private group, but it was started for that purpose, which is where I met our friend Poland. But that's how I became friends with James. So over the years, yeah, like I've been able to ask him questions. He's joined some of me in Grant's panels that we've hosted. So yeah, I mean, that statement, I think, is in par with the James Fox I know and the work that he puts into his films. So I thought
there's one thing on his statement, though, that kind of weirds me out a little bit, because he stated that Sands is willing to, take a lie detector test, a polygraph test, and is willing to testify to Congress. But Sands has stated that he's already done that.
Well, let's ask and get clarification on that. Did he testify to Congress, or did he testify to somebody else?
Maybe the Inspector General. I'm not sure.
Right. That's what I thought Sands' statement clarified, as he said he did speak with the Inspector General because that's where he was directed. I don't have it in front of me right now, but yeah, I mean, I don't like bugging people every single day with every single like back and forth with this. Like, if I get an opportunity to ask James or Sands, I mean, Sands, so maybe we can combine our mutual sources on this and figure out a little snippet. But at this point, I'm also just willing to wait for James's film to come out. I'm waiting for Sands to continue to do whatever he decides to do in his way. So, that's where I'm at. That's where my flag's staked. I'm glad people are starting to, walk back some statements and maybe give some benefit of the doubt. I know he had a big round with Rick Doty, whether it was earlier today or last night. It's still bleeding all over into X spaces and private chat spaces. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, he said he's not going anywhere, that he wants to start sharing and telling his story. So I think TBD or TBC, to be continued. There you go.
6 minutes ago here before we have to say goodnight to everybody here, but I wanted to get to this because I know you like a little bit of juice. I like a little bit of juice. Lou
That
Elizondo
is-
some juice on Twitter today. All right. And I thought this statement that he made was bang on because when I interviewed Elizondo a couple years ago, I asked him point blank, I said, what do you think about people within the UFO community thinking that you are some sort of demigod or God to them and God of this subject? And he really didn't appreciate he didn't appreciate the question, but he just wished that people wouldn't put him on the pedestal that they have. And I thought that was an interesting answer. So there was a little bit of a Twitter feed here where a gentleman named Carl said, resolving the Nimitz case will close the debate. Either we create a Lou Elizondo and David Grush golden statues and make offerings to them on our knees, or UFO Twitter will become an embarrassing symbol for a long time. To which Elizondo responded, Carl, if you think it's about me or Dave being right and people dropping to their knees, then they have missed the whole point of our endeavors. With all due respect, our purpose is to get people off their knees and stop worshiping the fake narratives we have been told. Excuse me, Mr. Elizondo, the threat narrative. And that's just my hyperbole there. And we are not heroes. We are simply public servants finishing the job we swore to do so many years ago. We serve you, the people, you and I. You are and have always been our boss. It's a shame more in government don't see it that way. So then somebody responds, if you serve us, why are you planning on writing a book and charging us for the information you got from being a public servant? Shouldn't that be info that should be free to us? Elizondo then responds, you have had 7 years of my efforts for free, which have nearly bankrupted me and my family, and lived in a trailer for nearly 2 years. Never asked for a dime from you. Don't want to read my book? Please don't buy it. It's my unfiltered experience, not asking you to buy or do anything. Getting a little snarky there. I liked it. I liked the fire. Whether you agree with him or not, I like that fire. I did.
Did you ask me a direct question?
Well, usually at this point, it's time to comment on what I just read.
Right. I'm soaking that in a little bit.
Well, there's a couple of big things in here.
Yeah, that's loaded. That's loaded. And like you said, it gets a little snarky. And aren't we beyond like the snark? And I mean, I know the pedestal comment and all of that. That was snarky to begin with. And I think that, I mean, it was a good riff to say that we don't need to like elevate demigods in this community of ours, you know, whether it's himself or Grush, or like in Grant's book, Managing Magic, he refers to them as magicians and messiahs. So that's where it gets dangerous. I think later in that statement, or in that tweet, there was something about like UFOs and forming cults and religions. And I think that's where, you know, when we push up idols, instead of trying to use UFOs to levelize religion, there's like these pockets that are almost doubling down on wanting to turn us into a religion. And I don't know. I think that's a pivot point that a lot of people don't understand necessarily. Like, I've never felt like ufology is going to be the next religion, like it's going to replace my, you know, former Catholicism or something. So I think that's like dangerous talk to compare it to cults that we've known to be dangerous in our community in the past, you know, like Heaven's Gate or the inceptions of Scientology, you know. And I don't want to bag on Scientology. It's a recognized spiritual practice religion in my country. Let freedom reign. um
What do you
So
think
I
about?
think that's dangerous. And just like I think it's dangerous when any experiencer props themselves up in that messiah-ish type of way, as like, I have all the answers. And I think maybe the frustration with Luis Elizondo is that he's not as open and approachable as maybe he thinks he is, especially when he lets other people speak for him and then they behave. How do I want to say that? When they behave in certain ways that certain people might not appreciate. And so, like, I don't want to bring up a bunch of stuff, but let's look at the Ozarks conference because we talked about that last week. Was that last weekend going on?
We got 45 seconds, so you got to make it quick.
Well, their stand-ins after they canceled caused a ruckus at that conference. They didn't behave professionally. The people that were with them didn't behave professionally. And yeah, so what a great stand-in you have there for you, representing you. So is that Lou Elizondo's fault? No, but people around him don't behave the best either.
I hear you. Ufology's a mess right now, and just the way it is. And thank you, Nicole, for another great UFO report on UFO Court. As we say hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat room tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X, hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
We own the night.
Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night.
I got nervous there for a second.
What's that?
I said I got nervous there for a second.
Why? You know I always throw it to you for that.
No, not that. Just, yeah. Don't want to say too much sometimes. Just want to say just enough.
Yeah. I was surprised that Elizondo broke up public. The first time I've seen him say publicly that, he almost went bankrupt.
I've heard that before, because this came up not in elections. When was it? I have to equate things with other things in my mind. I'm like, when was this? And one of the groups I was in, we actually had the privilege of having a guest speaker who's pretty up there. And so around the same time as that conversation, yeah, there was a lot of financial talk about the finances surrounding TTSA and their company standing and stuff like that, if it was rated good and things like that in this conversation. And I think that Lou Elizondo saying something about him living in a trailer around that time had come up then. So it's well over a year ago. And probably a year and a half. And I know at the time, like, it was brought up, it was like, well, is he living in a trailer from like a bad investment into TTSA? Like, he's retired from a government position in the military. Like, doesn't he have like retirement benefits or military benefits or, like healthcare and things like that? Like, I mean, people's finances are people's finances, and how they manage it is one thing or the other. Like, I mean, I'd like to say I'm in the hole with my ufology, but I don't think I would let myself get close to bankrupting my family or my lifestyle because of it. Like, I mean, that's always the catch-22 when you're a ufologist. You're always in the hole. And
Very true.
so I don't know how to quantify that statement. I think if somebody's near bankruptcy, I think that's probably a series of events that's happened throughout their life, not just like maybe the last 6 years of their life or so, or, I'm not sure. So I don't like statements like that, that you can't really, I mean, what are we supposed to do? Ask Lou, like, start that campaign like they did for Trump and the birth certificates or whatever, like, or release your taxes if you're running for president. Like, people's finances are what they are. Like, I hope he makes money on his book. I mean, everybody always throws books in my face or Grant's face, and they're like, oh, why do we have to wait for your book? And it's like, well, because if you put it in a book, it's like linear and cohesive to how you've, put together this information. It's not just like a blurb. So, but I also know Grant self-publishes, and, there's like little details that, with those things, like you have to sell X amount of books just to even break even on your publishing. And when you write and edit and publish all yourself, like, how do you even quantify that time to say when you're even and when you're not?
I don't
So,
even know.
right. And well, like, I don't know, I heard, well, it was when Grant interviewed Jacques Vallée. I'm not sure if it made it into like what was on YouTube, but I did hear a part of their conversation where they were discussing books and publishing and stuff like that. And I think Vallée mentioned that he has to sell like 400 books to even like break even. So then I think about Grant. He's written 22 books. We always tease Preston Dennett, have you written your 30th book yet? Like, he cranks them out as well. And yeah, I mean, nobody's like rolling in the big bucks or retiring like they're Scrooge McDuck. And I know when you go to conferences, unless you're a headliner, like in my own case in point, I got paid $500 to lecture for an hour and 20 minutes. But I also had to take 5 days off of work where I didn't get paid. And if I would have worked, it would have been more than $500. So did I really get paid for that conference? Or was it like a gesture? It's things like that. And then, of course, anything I do locally, that's not like, that's just me doing my thing. I don't have an agent. I don't make appearances and things of that nature. So, yeah, where's the line?
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out, because I'm sure he's going to be grilled on that. Now, I kind of know what went on there, just like you, because I think the same person told me as well. and I made a promise that I wouldn't say anything, so I haven't.
What?
'Cause about
Spit it out.
Spit what out?
Mm. What are you trying to say? They told you the same thing.
I said the same person who told me probably told you the same thing.
Hmm.
And I said, but I made a promise that I would not publicize that.
What I just said about finances and trailers and TTSA and
Well, the in-depth part of that story.
oh, I don't know. I mean, I guess I gossip with a lot of people, and then you hear the same gossip, and then you don't think it's gossip, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Paul Demon, how you doing? Who else jumped in here late? 1 second here. Where are you?
Hey, so
Foggy Joe?
let me be a little smart alecky right now.
Oh, do
But
you want to be smart alecky?
so how long was that Spaces with Sands? Like over 6 hours?
Something like that.
And yeah, just like there was 1,000 people in there for the last few hours listening and having the opportunity to ask him questions. So it was kind of like an impromptu AMA, right?
Yeah.
And then he's like catching flack for doing that in Twitter, I guess. Or X. I'm sorry. XXX. Twitter X. But so our buddy Ross does an AMA on Reddit tonight. Which like I mean, I know like lots of people do AMAs on Reddit, but like isn't that like I don't know. It's just like I haven't thought of like Reddit as I don't it's like in MySpace land for me almost. You know, like people are utilizing it. It has good pockets, but if you're gonna be like ask me anything for like the world, like why would you choose Reddit? Because your grandpa can use it? Like,
I don't even understand how Reddit works.
okay, maybe your grandpa can't use it. To
Like,
me, it reminds me of like the oldest boards or message boards or, you know, like Yahoo Chat back in the day. Like, I don't think it's user friendly. So, I mean, especially not like just like putting your name behind an audio dot and talking in a space. Like, I don't know. I just wanted to know that parallel of like why is Reddit AMAs okay, but X Space AMA isn't taken as seriously? And like, I mean, I know it's his platform and everything, but like Elon Musk takes it to X Spaces often. Like,
well, he owns the company. Of course he's going to.
I know, but I mean, he's also utilizes it in a very powerful way. So does Tucker Carlson. So do all the people that went and tried to monetize their X Space channels and all that stuff. Like, you know what I mean? They're wielding it as a tool. Like, it's. I'm always the last to the party. I'm trying not to be the last to the party. You know, I didn't want to. I didn't want a text message. I didn't want to buy a cell phone. I didn't want a text message. I didn't want to leave MySpace. I didn't want to. It took me forever to give up Yahoo Chats. I'll be honest. Like, I just think I was the last
Loved
person.
the chat back in the day, where
Right.
you could go into the chat rooms and just. I'd go into the chat rooms at night and just talk hockey with people. It was
Right.
great.
Like, Yahoo Chats was great. And then, like, even the evolution of, like, well, above Top Secret, that UFO site where you could chat and be on the boards and, you know, getting rowdy UFO talks. And was the other one like the Way Back Machine? What the open? No, what other ones? There were some old ones where you could find some really good stuff, and you still can. Like they're archived now, so that's fun. But yeah, and I don't know. Like I was saying, one of the first things I did was like a Facebook group. And now like and that was right around the time when Facebook Live became a thing. So we thought it was all cool to be able to like jump on together and have these live discussions with an audience chat. Well, like Twitter spaces or X spaces are just like an evolution of that to me. It's like more inclusive. So I don't know. I don't want to cut it out as like such a bad thing, especially when like it's okay to Twitter the news or X the news and type it out and get, well, back in the day you were limited. Now you're limited unless you pay for it. Can't edit unless you pay for it. So I mean, it's okay to convey and share the news that way, but not the same platform with your own voice.
I hear you. I hear you well.
I don't like things that don't make sense.
Nope. Me either. I'm just closing up some windows here. Don't need that anymore.
Are there any last minute questions from our space travelers? It is after show.
No, nothing.
No.
Nothing. Probably going to call it the night. So that way I can go edit and start prepping for my road trip in the middle of the night.
Where are you road tripping to?
Nebraska.
Oh.
Going to Nebraska.
What's in Nebraska? Do they have corn like Illinois?
Yes, that's why their college football team is called the Cornhuskers.
Right, I know. Like, I think that's inaccurate. I think it's like Iceland and Greenland. I don't think they have any corn in Nebraska. It's all here.
I don't know. Never been there.
Well, I wish you luck going to Nebraska. You're not going to have any problems. Are you driving or flying?
I'm driving to Vancouver. I haven't figured out what time I'm leaving. Probably 1:30 or 2. I may go nap for an hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
I work tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, you have fun at work tomorrow. Your hair looks great tonight, by the way.
Some lunar cycle that I'm in. So what was your biggest Mandela effect today earlier? I usually like listening into that guy, but I didn't get to tonight because I was blow drying my hair. There's always a good one that I haven't heard before. So what was the good one?
What was one that he stated tonight that I'd never heard? There were a couple of them. What were they? Help me out, audience.
Yeah, what were the good ones, audience? They don't know. They forgot. They're getting Mandela affected right now.
They're totally getting Mandela affected.
It's like when you edit out my cuss words.
So to clarify my trolls out there on
Oh, I totally forgot.
Okay. So the other night when Nicole swore on the air, I got frustrated and threw my hands up, and shook my head. And I've been, believe it or not, there's a group out there that's actually been came up with this entire story that that people swear on here all the time. It's never been an issue before, and that I was making an issue out of it. Let's just say that
We're confused, though. They don't realize that, if you go and watch your archives, it's the YouTube side, and that doesn't get edited out. It's the editing for the recording that gets sent to radio. So
exactly. And my frustration is you and I have talked so many times about it, but when you get impassioned, you start dropping the F-bombs and bullshits and all this kind of stuff, right?
I
And
do.
I gotta edit now. I gotta edit.
I know. And when I'm overly tired, I just can't control it. That's how it is.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. I just thought it was funny.
I don't know. I never really feel bad for cussing or for you having to edit. I just really don't.
Oh, I know you don't, but I
I
like to
listen
get to
to a
bed.
lot of radio, and they get away with a lot of stuff on radio show these days. So, I mean, I know that you're playing by the rules and you're not trying to push, your radio stations. That's not your bag in that. But I don't know. Sometimes you just have to emphasize how frustrated you are. Yeah.
Unprofessional. I think the best comment I got on Twitter about me recently, you'll like this one. I know you read it, but our audience hadn't. Hold on, I'm gonna pull it up here.
We just, I don't even like giving him any lip service anymore. And I don't want to, I like our nicknames, but I don't want to be that person. I'm trying to be an ambassador of Woo,
Oh, I get you. Trust me.
and not to tear down my fellow Woosters or seem unsupportive.
No. Dave Scott has no professional journalistic integrity whatsoever. He simply looks out for himself, promoting nonsense and excrement, all in the name of gaining followers, viewers, and listeners, period.
Why do you,
Excrement.
let me pose this question to you,
Mm-hmm.
since we have both worked with him. Do you think he took this stance? I mean, to the best of my knowledge, I didn't think you guys had a big falling out or an argument like he and I did over Rick Doty. But so is he just all like Pampers pulling ups because you don't have him on the radio show anymore? Like he was part of the round table. Like that's how I met you, was that sort of thing. Like I
You know
mean, I
what?
know a lot of people have come and gone. Like I
Yeah.
started with you when I was filling in for what's his name? The scientist dude, the mad scientist.
Yeah.
I mean, because I know why he attacks me or doesn't like me. Like it's rooted in that Doty argument, but it's
He
because
hates that I give our Keith Andrews a platform.
and not him.
No, he left because a long time ago he was on one of his Facebook lives, and I had brought up the woo question, and right there he and his other half started ripping me a new one out of nowhere. And I'm like, what is this about? Like, it totally caught me off guard. Another one of those Dave does nothing, but still gets ripped a new one.
Mm.
And so I was like, whatever. And then he sent me a text message saying, Justin, no, he's not. Okay. No, he's not. Keith is a very good dude. Okay. You may not like him, but he is a very good dude with a heart of gold. So let's not be an
Check
asshole.
out Justin. I'm the ambassador of Woo. That's
So
not very
anyway,
human
back
like.
to the story. All of a sudden, he rips me a new one on text message, saying that he was done with SOR and everything, and I don't give a care what your opinion is, Justin. We don't shit on guests here, and Keith is a friend of mine. I will get defensive. I apologize to you right now, dude, But I will get defensive on that because
Right.
Keith
I
is a
mean,
friend of mine who has been bullied his entire life. Think about that for a minute.
we support experiencers here, no matter how weird or uncool or whatever they seem. Like,
Yeah.
just not, yeah, wrong space for that.
And so, anyways, long story short, then all of a sudden, that's when he started picking on me on his blog, and then you became just a cook.
Right. I mean, I was his former research partner, and then I'm just a cook. And that's what I mean. Like, these attacks from some people that just don't move forward with their own work and things like that. And it's sad. I mean, and I think I don't know, since I'm so famous now,
Yeah.
I think he said I used him as a stepping stone.
You know what the one thing about my critics though, that I will say this, Nicole, they don't understand we're not a podcast. We are a live radio show for entertainment in the topics that we love. We do fall under entertainment. We tell a lot of stories here, not, or people tell a lot of stories here. People share their experiences and everything. Yes, we get into hardcore research as well. Okay,
Well,
but
I think what you need to emphasize with that, like being a show, is that you do bring on dynamic people that have personalities and make what they research fun and interesting. And I just like to point out that, those last couple of roundtables that all of us did together, one of the questions you asked, because the show I did with him that he's continued now with the replacement of me that he married, you know, one of the last things you posed for us, it was like a New Year's show. You were like, what do you want to do in your years to come, with ufology and your research? And I very clearly laid out what I wanted to do. I wanted to tackle more of the high strangeness. I wanted to get involved with CE5 circles, and I wanted to put some of my research into a book. And that's when I had started, my relationship with Grant as well, and started helping him do what he does. So, and then, that did turn into a book and more books. And it's like, so I look back of when he was, still friendly and setting those goals. And I forget even what he said, but I know that I've exceeded and gone well beyond what I thought I would be doing from then to now. And then I just see him doing the same thing that he was doing 7 years ago. So that's weak when you can't grow like that. So, and you're only the only thing you have is bashing former people that you used to associate with or other people in ufology. Like, the day of the angry ufologist is over. It just is. People don't want that anymore. I think the way Sands was attacked is clear. They don't want this. Meh. So just stop it. Play nice. And he hides behind professionalism. Oh, I'm being a professional. But no, he's personally attacking people that he used to work with, that he used to associate with. So be petty. Go ahead. It's gotten you real far.
right,
Yeah.
right, I agree. It's
Excellent.
a lot of fun sometimes, and I think a lot of these people sometimes forget that that there's a lot of people in this field who have that are human. They have feelings. They have their own thoughts. They have their own ideas and everything, and just because it doesn't coincide with what you believe or or I believe or anybody that believes, it doesn't make sense that all of a sudden, we have to, absolutely completely try and tear people down. I think that's my biggest disappointment
Well,
in
that's what I like, like what like Darcy Weir was trying to pit me and Joe Mergia against each other today. And it's like, dude, like me and Joe can disagree on so much, and we're not gonna like cancel culture each other. You know what I mean? And it's just like all these little battles of like stupidity. It's just what I mean. Like
it's
if
like
you're
I
an
made
ambassador or something, if
a
you're
comment to Bob McGuire on X today, and I had all these people shitting on me. I said, "Do you know Bob and I talk like 2-3 days a week, and we're always ribbing each other?" Like I said, "Do you know that?" I said that just back off a little bit,
well,
relax.
yeah, that's what
Everybody,
even in the spaces, like, I'm not afraid to talk to Lou Jimenez or Green Street or anybody else that I'm told not to. Like, even when they give me shit and they're like, "Oh, I can't believe you're talking to so and so," and like, it's this whole back and forth of like, how dare you like tell me who I can talk to or not talk to, or the opinions that I can have after all of this. Like,
yeah. It's like I'll bring almost anybody on this show. The
but
amount of the amount of heat I take on this for bringing on Mick West, it's because I'm
I
curious
know,
about his opinion. And my job as a journalist isn't to play one side. I have to
right.
try, even though I'm an experiencer, I still have to wear the hat as a journalist, being unbiased and call it the way I see it.
I
Right?
just, I never liked that, like, junior high, high school lunchroom stuff of, like, oh, you can't sit at my table, or, oh, I saw you sitting with them. What are you doing with, it's like, grow up. Like, maybe they lack people skills, because I know I talk to people, I reach out to them, and I build relationships with them. So if other people can't do that or find common ground with people on the playground, then yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Go fly a kite somewhere else.
Well, you know what? Here's my thing. I try and like everybody.
I do
Okay.
too.
And I know you do, and you and I talk about this quite a bit. And, I may not agree with Mick West. I may not agree at times with John Greenwald. I may not agree with Stephen Greenstreet or Lou Jimenez or anybody, but I'm the same way with Elizondo. I'm the same way with Cahill. I'm the same way with you. I'm the same way with Grant. I'm the same way with everybody. Where all I want to do is, there's away from ufology. I like people. You know what I'm
Well,
saying? I like people, and I like being a part of the people side of things. But whether they're passive aggressive towards me or don't like me or whoever, there's a lot of people in this field who don't like me, but I'd still interview them. I'd still give them the time, right?
I think those are like the best conversations, is when you can talk and it can get elevated or heated or passionate, and you can make your points and you can find the common ground without, like I said the other night, like without turning yourself into the ass that's in Philip J. class. Like, you know, whenever he would start losing a debate, or whenever, yeah, just whenever he got pushed too far, he would start with the personal attacks and like that sort of thing. And yeah, we just got to be better than that sort of stuff. Like, I don't know. I think Preston didn't, like I think he
Absolutely.
wholeheartedly like levelizes. He will go on anybody's show, talk to anybody, anytime, anywhere. Like, he doesn't care if you're hated or scandalous or this or that. Like, I've seen him, true ambassadorship there. I know Grant tries to go on as many shows as he can, and he's also very bad about checking his DMs, and the way that people reach out to people is sometimes, I don't know, lost, or, I know I got ignored a lot when I would first reach out to people, and it's like I always had like this, I'm going to bug them like 3 times, and then I'll wait a year, and then I'll try to bug them again. So I don't know. There's lots of ways. But then there's people that find you too, of course, and you build relationships that way. So.
Oh, very true.
I just think it sucks. Like, I don't know. I don't like fighting with people. I think it's a waste of time. I'd rather like find the mutual ways that we can do good together, or connect, or fill in dots, or whatever that is. And I think enough people out there know that if, I'm always more than willing to help on anything.
Mm-hmm.
So actions speak louder than bobbleheads and words. So
you got that right. You got that right. Well, on that note, I'm going to prepare. I got a little bit more. I have to accessorize my suitcase now because, all the stuff I forgot in studio here now has to be packed. But you have an amazing weekend. I will be in the United States in a few hours.
Is there not a show Friday?
There is a show. Rob G will be filling in Varla tomorrow, UAP PD on Friday.
Okay.
So Sweet Robbie G will be here the next 2 nights, and then he'll go right through the weekend. I'll be back on Monday, where on Monday I will talk with Lon Strickler, then Katy Perry, then Stephen Colburn on alien implants, and then Frank Milburn, then R. Keith Andrews, Justin's favorite.
Can I come on your Frank night just to say hi?
Sure, you can. Unprofessional.
I like Frank. He lives on the Canary Islands, so
Frank's awesome. All right, my dear. See you later. And to our audience, thank you tonight to T-Bone with a hat trick, W. Decker, Melvin, Stephen, Andrew, and Random Guy for the super chats. Have a good one, everybody. We'll talk to you next week.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.